Alright, what's up, gamers? What's up, Malum? I swear, every time I go live, it feels like it's been longer since the last time. Dude, Clawfinger is the song that always plays when I actually switch the camera over to. It's kind of weird. Yeah, man, how's it been? My entrance theme, yeah. Dude, I've been watching a ton of wrestling stuff lately, I'm not gonna lie. I've been, like, legitimately getting fully back into it. Been watching a bunch of Undertaker entrances, Triple H. You know, Triple H post-quad injury. Kane. Kane was always one of my favorites, especially when he first came out, because he was basically just like, you know, a Jason Voorhees type. Bombarded with final exams, so you haven't seen me much. I feel you there, man. I've lived in that world once or twice. I tell you, I have had the weirdest situation. Obviously, you guys know I don't like to talk too much about work, so I'll keep it very vague, but there's a bit of a stigma in IT about hiring certain age groups. Basically, the stigma is like, don't hire too young or too old, because something about, like, there's a sweet spot. Basically, you want, in today's, you know, society, whatever you want to say, basically there's a sweet spot of, like, probably ages 25 to 36 or so. In that age range, these are people that have grown up their entire life with, yeah, true. These are people that have grown up their entire life around computers and know most of IT stuff. If you hire someone that's too young, you kind of get into the whole TikTok generation and people that don't typically like to dig to find issues and stuff. And if you hire someone that's been in the game for 20 plus years, they just won't be willing to, you know, adapt to your culture, work culture, obviously, and a lot of different things. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Now, that's not to say that that is even remotely true for everybody. We've hired people that are outside of both and have turned out to be excellent at the job and speaking with clients and everything else. It's not a problem. But here recently, I've had 2 people that I'm training. One of them is a lady that's about 26 years old, and the other is a guy who's about 48. And both of them crushed their interviews. Excellent jobs. Yes, it's the technical literacy gap. Originally, we found it's between boomers and Xers with millennials, but now we're finding technical literacy with Gen Alpha and Zoomers, right? And, there's a lot of theories as to why that is, but my number one theory as to why I think it is because Apple and phone apps have dominated the bulk of people's lives for about 10 plus years now. Going back to maybe 2013-ish, around when Vine first popped up, that's when most people's idea of troubleshooting was to close and reopen an app, or to go into settings and toggle one thing, to fix a problem on the iPhone. It's like, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because Apple did such a good job at making everything just work that no one wants to troubleshoot anything anymore, because they've just made it so piss easy for everything to just work. So, when something doesn't work, instead of troubleshooting, the first question most people ask is, who do I talk to fix it? You know what I mean? So this is not universal. Obviously, there's people that do not fit into this mold of what I'm describing, but there are some younger people who are kind of like just not interested in troubleshooting whatsoever, because they just assume everything should just work Apple style. But anyways, going back to the 2 trainees, the lady has been doing absolutely fine. She's been progressing perfectly normal. And the older guy, I don't think 48's that old anyway, but the older guy has been challenging me at every turn. Now keep in mind, I've been, pretty much in charge of training wholesale for this entire department going back to November of 2023, and I've been doing training for this department long before that, almost 2 entire years before that. So I know what the fuck I'm doing at this point. I would say I'm more confident in this than anything else, professionally, career-wise, whatever. And this guy is just challenging me on everything. It's like he's trying to catch me in some type of gotcha. We'll get some type of, complex issue that requires some digging. And as I'm describing where he needs to go and what he needs to do, he'll say things like, well, that's not what you said last time. Why is it different this time? And it's not. And even the other lady that I'm training is like, that's exactly what you said last time, or that's exactly what we did last time. You know what I mean? It's possible. Yeah, maybe Asperger's or something like that, or I don't know. But I definitely think he has an issue with social cues, because there's been a lot of times where I don't know if he realizes, but it sounds like he's calling me out. And right now he's reporting to me as his training, supervisor. So I'm like, what is going on here, man? Now, I have done in-person retail, okay? So I'm really good at just ignoring when stuff like this happens. I don't let it bother me at all. I just straight up keep it rolling, because we've got more important things to do. But yeah, it's just been nonstop. Yeah, from my experience, a lot of IT guys have a tough time with social cues. That's very true, yeah. So I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt, and we've just kind of been progressing. But basically, the way that my training process works is every week we introduce a new form of work that we do. Step by step, we're kind of unfurling the job one by one. And that way, by the final week that they're working directly with me, they're exposed to everything that they're going to be doing on a daily basis. And then once that week is concluded, they work solo for a week, but remain on my schedule so that I can stay as a resource to them, but it gives them the experience of working solo. So we're in that week right now. We're in the final week before they get their own schedules and go off and do their own thing, elsewhere in the company or whatnot. But, we're in that week where they're working by themselves. And it's just a disaster. I mean, he's making all kinds of mistakes, things that, are not my fault because the other lady that I was training, she's not making these mistakes at all. So it's like the common denominator, the outlier is you, man, not me. When I moved into this position, we developed a whole training feedback process where everyone who goes through it can, rate the overall process, give feedback of what worked and what didn't work. I've had 15 people perform the survey. Not one person has come back and said that we missed certain things. No, it's soft skills, man. Like he doesn't know how to sound interested, if that makes sense. He just sounds bored and annoyed when he talks to people. It's like he'll talk to people on the phones and they're like, oh, I'm not really sure how this works. Can I do this? And he'll go, yeah. Silence. Just, yeah. An aggressive yeah. And they're like, okay. Like you kind of hear them stutter. It's like they just don't know what to say because he's just very cut and dry, very direct, bored and annoyed sounding. Yeah, so it's rough, man. It is rough. And the most awkward part was, my title is not this person's direct supervisor. This person does not report to me in a sense that you were laid off your job the day after your birthday. What the fuck happened? What's up, by the way, Sick? I got a guy in their 20s where all the nurses complain that he's very standoffish. Shortage of work. No, they couldn't afford to pay people if there wasn't enough work. That sucks, man. Dude, I've been hearing about that left and right too. It's making me kind of paranoid. Yeah. But hey, man, don't sweat it. Now you've got all that experience. You can drop that onto your resume and it'll make it that much easier to get another job. You know what I mean? The more experience you have and the ability to call back to that experience, the easier it's going to be. Right. And you get paid to go to school. I think I remember you telling me that, so that'll help as well. But yeah, so it was basically becoming too disruptive for us to continue giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I spoke with my boss about it because part of my job is to jump into a meeting with basically a panel of supervisors and report, progress and things like that. So as I bring this up, they basically said, well, you got the keys, have that conversation. And here I am at 30. This guy's 48. He's been in the customer service industry as long as I've been an adult. Just the dynamic there was very fucking awkward. It's like I was disciplining my fucking uncle or something. You know what I mean? So that was awkward. But we had the conversation and he basically didn't say much on the call, but then after the call was over, it was basically the end of the day and he just messaged me and said, thanks for the feedback, all lowercase and with a period at the end. I don't think he was too happy. So yeah, that's what I've been dealing with, but they're on their own technically this week. I'm only a resource as far as chat goes, and they have all the rest of the team that's answering their questions and stuff now. So it's not solely on me. I've done my part, and he's either going to sink or he's going to swim. That's basically where we're at. So that's part of the reason why my streaming has been so few and far between here lately, because when trainees are in that phase of the training, I genuinely cannot, I have to be 100% alert and available, talking all day, every day. So yeah, it's difficult for me to do 9 hours of that and then, also do it at night with streaming. Sometimes I genuinely was losing my voice. I was talking so much. So, but anyways, that's all sorted now. And then as far as the YouTube video that I'm working on, me and Future are still working on that. We've got a Google Drive set up where we're basically finishing our narration. I think we already talked about that, but just in case you guys didn't know, it's me and Future Mute working on a YouTube video going super, super in depth about all the connections and what Future describes as the connective tissue between Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3 that a lot of people may not know about, because there's way, way, way more than just the main story elements that people usually talk about. I remember a team staff meeting we had one time, and we had another Zoomer say something awkward after the group was asked, what are some potential personal shortcomings that can be addressed? He said, having an abusive father. Oh my god. Everyone had an awkward pause. Yeah, that's just, that's like, buddy, you should probably have that conversation with HR or something. Like, what the... dude, I have never been exposed to more awkward moments than when I started doing interviews about 3 years ago. Dude, the amount of awkward stuff that's happened in those interviews is unbelievable. Night of the Consumers 1.0, you mean? Like, I've told this story before, but one of the first interviews I ever did, we kind of asked this question of, you know, tell us a little about yourself. And this question drives a lot of people crazy because they either tell us their whole life story or they end up giving us like 1 to 2 sentences, which is not enough to go on. So that question, I understand it's frustrating because it's more about how you answer, not so much what you say, that we're trying to get a gauge of. But really, when any employer asks that question, they just want to know professional. From a professional perspective, tell us a little about yourself. What do you do career-wise? You know, that type of thing. What's up, Dr. Red? Dr. Red platform jumping from YouTube, the tube of you, to Twitch. By the way, I have this really annoying bump between my eyebrows. I think it's like a sweat blister or something. It just formed when I got back from the gym a couple days ago, so that's annoying. But anyways, we asked this guy to talk about his hobbies a little bit. And this motherfucker whips out a deck of cards and starts doing card magic. Like, and this wasn't remote either. This was in person, so it was made even more awkward. The remote ones have had some weird stuff too. Like, but yeah, like, dude, that's another problem that I think a lot of people have. When we ask a question about your hobbies, we don't want you to we don't want you to bring a deck of cards to the job interview and start performing or like juggling or being all quirky. Like, I guarantee you, people, if they do that, they get passed on like 8 out of 10 times. And the reason for that is when you have somebody that is like, especially in a team like ours, where we're a very standard corporate customer service oriented type team, the last thing we need is someone who's going to come in and try to be super ultra quirky and like stand out. We just want someone who's very laid back and is just going to be easy to integrate into the team. You know what I mean? So when someone comes in and they do card tricks, in my mind, I'm like, this guy's trying way too hard. You know, he might be a bit of a liability in terms of getting along with his coworkers. That's kind of how we view it. So it's like, we would much rather prefer somebody just say, yeah, I enjoy this, that, and the other. And, you know, it is what it is. You know, I would just prefer somebody just give me a boring, mundane answer. That's all we need. I like video games. I like movies. You know, I like to go on dates with my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just want something mundane and simple. And if someone says that and they're more focused on the professional aspect of the interview, we're like zeroed in on that person. It's like, yeah, they're going to be super easy to just integrate into a team and get, you know, hit the ground running. You know what I mean? Yeah, being chill is a great personality asset. That's very, very true. Is that the newest Dragon Ball Super movie, Dr. Red? But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know where this like myth came from, but a lot of people just seem to think they have to try way harder than they do in job interviews to be, you know, quirky and to stand out. I don't know what jobs people are applying for that want that, but I don't know of many that would prefer that over just a chill, laid back, standard set of interests, you know? If someone asked me that, I would be like, so William Afton, 8 hours later, and that's why the Mimic is the true villain in Five Nights at Freddy's series. Then their jaw drops. Not only does their jaw drop, they say, you know what? You got the job, and not only did you get the job, we're giving you $1 million bonus right out of the gate. Just right out, you know? Just to get you kicked in and inspired to say, hey, I'm on the team, and I know the most lore about Five Nights at Freddy. You know what I mean? Reality, by the way. Oh man, you know the question I hate the most? Thankfully we don't ask, or no. We don't do this, but I'll tell you guys, at my last position, I kind of have told the story of how everything kind of fell apart there with my boss, like lying to me about a position being available and stuff. This was years ago. This was like 2019, which I can't believe was 6 years ago now. But as I was doing a bunch of interviews, I kept interviewing with these companies and they all kept telling me that we do things differently here. And it got to the point that if I heard a company say we do things differently here at any point in the application or the interview process, I was like, nope, I'm out. Because what it came down to is they didn't. And they like to say that to get you in the door. And then once you're in the door, you find that it's exactly what you were expecting. It was not different at all. So the hilarious part is the company that I ended up going with is the one company that didn't tell me we do things differently and ended up being the one that actually did things differently. The irony of that is just so funny to me. If you hear, oh, nice, dude, watch streaks. Oh, they give you more channel points for that? Dude, no wonder John has like an insane amount of channel points. My current team lead said that what convinced them to hire me was that I was comfortable to own up to my mistakes and was willing to learn. Yeah, mine was kind of weird. It was pre-pandemic. Basically, I was on, how would you describe it? Basically, I was on a very entry-level phone customer service team, right? And I wanted to move into the IT portion of the company. And as I was doing the general customer support stuff, one of my bosses, kind of told me like, hey, I hear that there might be an opening soon, so you may want to get some shadow time in and see what's going on over there. So I kind of fired a couple emails off and got that done. This was pre-pandemic, so we were still in the office at this time. And I go over and I worked, with the IT section a little bit. I didn't really feel super welcome, but I felt like it went well. And they kind of told me like, yeah, we've got a couple people that are going to be joining the team in a couple weeks. We're just waiting on background checks and stuff. And then after that, we'll be ready to talk to you some more, as in we'll interview you. So, a couple weeks goes by. I don't think too much of it. I just get my coffee. I sit down at my desk and my boss comes by and she like taps me on the shoulder a little aggressively. And I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? Like, is she going to talk to me? Did I get in trouble? And she just points over toward the IT department. She goes, you need to go talk to them right now. And I was like, okay. So I walked in there and the guy just extends out his hand. He's like, welcome aboard. You good to join the team? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm good to join the team. Like, we hadn't discussed anything. We hadn't discussed salary, nothing. But I wanted the position. I was like, I'll take it. I wasn't going to say no. And basically they let me know that someone's background check came back and it had some red flags. So when they went to call the guy, he just ghosted them. So that position kind of became available. And the crazy part is this was like February 2020. So handful of weeks before everybody gets sent home. Like, the timing was so incredibly lucky for this to happen. Because if that person's background check if that whole situation didn't happen and they didn't pick me up, I probably wouldn't have been able to join that team for a couple of years. So it was incredibly lucky that it happened when it did. So, yeah. After one of my reports afterward, kind of, leaning on what you were talking about, like what your team lead said, he basically told me like the reason why we hired you is because when you shadowed, you asked nothing but great questions. You didn't talk about yourself. You just asked strictly questions about the position. And the person you shadowed with said, this guy can learn really, really easily. So I thought it didn't go great because I didn't like really socialize, but it turned out that the person I was shadowing with preferred somebody that didn't want to sit there and talk about themselves or what their hobbies are and stuff. Just all I did was ask about the job. I'm like, what do we do? What is this? What is that tool that you're using? What is that website you're accessing? All this. So all I did was just ask tons of questions about the stuff that was being done. And I didn't even realize that it went well in their eyes. So, but that's something we look for now as well. It's never really changed. If somebody wants to shadow with our team, we always want to make sure that, they're asking questions about the job, not, it's not a hangout. It's a shadow session. Right. It's like, and for a long time I was tasked with doing the shadowing, and we would get these people that would come in and be like, oh yeah, So yeah, I like to do this and do that, and I'm into motorcycles and I'm into cars and stuff. It's like, that's great, man. Let's save that for when you're on the team. You know what I mean? Like, we're not really here to talk about motorcycles right now. We're here to talk about the position. This is kind of like a prerequisite to see if you're interested in the position. So yeah, that's kind of a litmus test that we would use to recruit people later on. But yes, that was incredibly fortunate, because I'm pretty sure we had a hiring freeze for a few months after the pandemic went into full swing. So had I not joined the team when I did, I don't know what would have happened. But hey, I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. It all worked out, so it is what it is. But yeah, being involved in sort of managerial interview and hiring decisions has been a really big step for me. And it's something that I thought I would struggle with. And I did, certainly for the first few months I did. But after a while, when you do a certain amount of interviews, it really stands out when someone is excelling in the interview. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell when a good interview is happening. And I get it. Like, we do panels, man. Shit is, it's pressure. The most pressure you can experience, even if it's remote, is joining a Zoom call, because we do ours in Zoom, is joining a Zoom call and looking at you just got three people just staring at you, you know, waiting on your every word. That shit's awkward. It's a lot of pressure. So we don't expect everybody to just come in and kill, you know, and just do amazing. Like, that's pressure, but we're putting pressure on you intentionally to see how you navigate a pressure-filled environment. You know, you're going to experience pressure in the position anyway, so why not gauge your ability to handle it right from the jump? You know what I mean? So that's kind of what we do. And some people really crumble. What about one Mark E. Plore guy? Some people, man, they absolutely just clam up. And we've had some guys that are like right out of college. I'm talking like 21, 22 years old. Clearly very knowledgeable about IT, but they're like just so shy and nervous, and they can't even like get a single answer out. And we're having to, the whole time, we're just having to repeat ourselves like, it's all right, we can move on to the next question. And before we know it, we've skipped 4 questions and we have to revisit those same questions, and they just clam up again. They're like, you know, they're just silent, just like looking around. And a lot of times they'll just end up saying, I don't know, as an answer. But, you know, some people come into the interview just perfectly laid back, and they're just like, you know, it's like they're just talking to some coworkers they've known forever, and they just kill it. You know, as soon as we ask the question, boom, they're off to the races. And you can kind of just tell when a good interview's happening once you've done it enough. But anyways, yeah, just a lot of stuff been going on lately. And yeah, I'm not, trust me, I'm not happy to look at my stream history and see that I'm streaming like once every 4 or 5 days, but there's reasons, not excuses. Okay, I'm never going to abandon Twitch entirely. But you know, sometimes I just got to scale it down. I got a lot of stuff going on, and I just got to scale it down sometimes. So I was watching this video earlier, right after I finished work, and it popped up in my suggested feed about this guy who sued his parents because they kicked him out of his childhood house when he was 30 years old. Have you guys heard of this guy? The news literally refers to him as the deadbeat son. It's kind of crazy. Parents sue their 30-year-old deadbeat son, and 30-year-old evicted from parents' home speaks to CNN. Look at this. So he's 30 years old. Stream when you want. Will always be here. Besides IRL, super important. Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate that. Like, nobody has sat here and said like, bro, where are the streams? That used to happen a lot until I definitely sounds like a headline for our millennial and Zoomer generation. Yeah, look. Like, and I hate saying this because I hate leaning into stereotypes, but this guy literally is the stereotype. Bro, where are the streams? Why are you not dancing for my entertainment on a daily basis? I'm waiting. This wrist has no watch, but I'm waiting. Get online. Yeah, give content now. Not later, now. Dude, believe it or not, I I love browsing other people's Discords just to see kind of what their community does. And I mean like larger, way larger streamers than mine. I mean like people that average 1.5K plus viewers. And there's a lot of that going on. It's got to be so annoying. Every single day they don't stream. When's the next stream? Hey man, is everything all right? You didn't stream tonight. Hey man, I don't want to bother you, but like when's the next stream? It's like, dude, bro wants one day off from being like your personal TV channel. Relax, please. Let the man rest. Or let the lady rest. Holy shit, dude. Like, there was a streamer recently who did a whole shit ton of Oblivion Remaster, like 7 days in a row, 6 hours a day, like grueling schedule. They were all really great streams. And then on the 7th day, she's like, guys, I'm taking a rest day. And here comes like 4 motherfuckers in the general chat. Hey, I'm just checking. Is everything all right? You're not, I saw you weren't live. Are you good? When's the next stream? Yeah, because people don't have their own lives. It's I don't know. I think it's just very online people that, because here's the thing. Once you get into streaming and you have like your community of regs and stuff, it can feel like you're a TV channel sometimes. Like when you're offline, it feels like the TV's just off and there's nothing for anybody to watch. And what I've learned about Twitch is people usually will pick like one streamer, one main streamer that they watch, and they don't really watch anybody else. So when that one streamer's not live, a lot of times they just don't use Twitch. I'm actually really interested by that, but it seems like a lot of people just pick their one streamer and they stick to it. Yeah, if I'm not going to tag the streamer in the Discord, but if, you know, like if it was in mine, if Stampede can see this, I just want to make sure everything's all right because I noticed, hey man, you weren't live tonight. And so it creates this awkward situation where every streamer who's like partnered feels the need to make an announcement talking about why they can't be live every single time, as if they need a justification. It's like, bro, you could just easily say, I needed a day, guys. I'll be back tomorrow. You know, just wanted to rest today. Kind of exhausted with streaming. You know, my voice is a little tired. You know, and anything is valid. It's your channel. Like, you run your own. Your community is literally the only Discord and Twitch community where I'd be all right meeting IRL. The standard Discord server I find to be filled with people I should not be meeting. I am incredibly proud of that, by the way. Every person in my community, not to sound parasocial, but every person in my community I would sit down and have a beer with, for real. I feel like we're all very like-minded, laid-back people. Nobody's like super intense or tries to, you know, steer conversations in just really unnecessary argumentative directions. Yeah. No, not beer, because beer, you know, introduce alcohol and then bad things can happen. Conversationally especially, and then it might lead to some punches being thrown. But you know what? I'd sit down and have a black coffee with anybody in this community for sure. But no, like when we have our movie nights and stuff, I know it's been a while since we've done a watch party, but those were the funniest nights, dude. Especially when we had a bunch of people in there, like all riffing on a movie. Dr. Red, do you remember the night we watched House of Wax? How fucking hilarious that was. Chugged a big old cup of Maxwell House right after. Nice, you gotta bring balance. Like, we were laughing our asses off the night we watched House of Wax, and we watched like the really crappy 05 remake with Paris Hilton in it. God, that was such a fun night, man. We gotta bring those back. All right, so let's watch this video.
8 years of free room and board.
No, that's all right, Malum. Don't worry about that. It's been a long time since we've done one, dude. I think 6-7 months. All right, so here's the video of the 30-year-old speaking on being evicted from his parents' home, by the way. I don't even know how, like, this sentence is real. Just a second. All right, so here we go. Now, hopefully CNN doesn't fucking copy strike me for watching this, but hey, we'll see.
is long enough. That is the feeling of an upstate New York couple who's been trying to kick their third.
Oh, she said 8 years of free room and board is long enough. So I guess he like dropped out of college when he was 22 and continued living there till he was 30.
Is long enough. That is the feeling of an upstate New York couple who's been trying to kick their 30-year-old son, Michael.
By the way, he represented himself in court. I'd also like to point that out.
Rotundo out of their house. As incentive, they gave him money to get started. They even sent him several letters to vacate, but the son says he was not given enough
They gave him money to get started. Like, there's no excuse, dude.
notice. Michael has a young son himself who he lost custody of within the last year. And now these parents have actually gone to the courts. And the verdict is that the judge evicted him. And I had a chance to speak with Michael moments ago. Here's our conversation. Michael, welcome.
Hi.
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 Hi. So let me start with you're 30.
Right.
The simplest question.
Oh my God.
Do you not want to?
Now, I will say, like, it's a unique situation, but like this lady is very passive aggressive with him at several points. You can tell she's judging the shit out of him, but hey, he agreed to this interview. Use that money for the suit. Somebody in the comments said the most awkward thing is that after the court case, they both have to go home to the same house. I'm like, for real. Imagine how fucking awkward it must be there.
Find.
Right.
The simplest question. Do you not want to find your own place?
No.
Well, that settles it. Rule in this man's favor.
Why not?
I don't want to live there anymore.
You don't want to live with your parents?
I don't like living
Interview
No.
over.
with, it's not, it's very tense. It's very awkward. It's, we have to, we have to share space, which, may be the case with where I would find myself afterwards, but I'd prefer to get out.
Okay, so on the preferring to get out, let's rewind for a second, because it's my understanding you've lived, at your parents' house, rent-free for 8 years, and I know
He has the weirdest hairline I've ever seen. It's not declining, but it's crooked. Like, again, I hate saying this, but just looking at this guy, everybody is thinking the same thing. Like, he's literally the stereotype of the Reddit, dweller, the basement dwelling nerd type guy. I hate saying it, but it's true. And that's why I think he's getting judged so hard by this lady, because he looks exactly like you would expect. Reading a headline like this, as much as it sounds shitty to say, it's true.
you do your own laundry, you buy your own food, but they asked you 5 times, please move out. Why couldn't you guys resolve this without the court?
I would consider much of what they were doing to try to get me out as a tax.
What? It's your parents, dude. I would consider much of they're trying to get me out as a tax. How is that an attack? They're your fucking parents.
And what I was trying to, trying to preserve, trying to do what's best for me, which is just, let's try to be a little more reasonable. I'll leave. I don't like living here. But I need.
Look at her face, by the way. Tax as in tax write-off. Yeah, look at her face while he's explaining this answer.
Well, I'll leave. I don't like living here. But I need reasonable time. And as an example of this, the first notice that I received, the February 2nd notice.
Dude, everybody in the comments is talking about that. She has so much blush on, or whatever that is, that it makes her cheeks look like they're too fucking... Like, it just looks like she has 2, like you said, kind of fucking Pokeballs stuck to the side of her face. Like, there's such a thing as a little bit too much.
Was basically, you have 14 days before you're outside in the winter weather. So the first thing I did
Not the
when I
winter
got back
weather.
was I made sure that wasn't going to happen. I contacted the police department. I said, is this something that's, this could happen? And they're like, no, you just call us. That they can't do that. And I said,
yeah, they're oh my god, it's so realistic. They're like coming out of the screen at me, dude. Her cheeks are coming out of the screen. The summer blockbuster, dude.
And I was like, all right. And
Michael, I'm listening to you. I really am. But let me just understand, because I hear you on your parents giving you notices. The fact that you were on national television talking about moving out of your parents' house.
You see how the sneak disses she puts in every sentence during this? God, she's being so fucking passive aggressive about every statement here.
Is the fact that you were on national television talking about moving out of your parents' house. You tell me you want to move out of your parents' house. Why don't you just move out of your parents' house, like tomorrow?
Especially if they're giving you money to move out. That's the weird thing. Like, they're giving you money, dude. Just leave. Just get out. It's not that hard.
I don't have the means to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
do you have a job?
No.
Are you trying to get a job? Because I read that one of the things your parents asked of you, there are jobs available even for those with a poor work history like you. Get one, you have to work. Are you working on that?
I have,
The answer to that question is no, by the way, based on the way he goes.
I have plans to be able to provide myself with the income I need to support myself, but it's not something that's going to come together tomorrow. So I'm
Imagine if he said that on national TV. Yeah, I have a Discord server I moderate, and he does make an excuse later on that like there's a court case that essentially is a full-time job in and of itself, so he doesn't need a real job. It's like, yeah, but the court case isn't paying you, dude.
I'm trying to do what's best for me, and I do want to leave, and I want to leave as soon as possible. But it's not tomorrow. I don't think it should have to be tomorrow, and
yeah, also gaslighting the perfect journalist. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of other clips with this lady, and it's almost always her like antagonizing her guests and starting an argument, just basically starting a circus amongst her guests. Like, she's really good at that, apparently.
Well, you want it to be tomorrow. It just isn't tomorrow because you don't have the means yet to make it tomorrow. Here's the next thing.
Right.
I mean, do you, a lot of us have lived with our parents.
This is the most unnecessary comment. Look, he gets a drink of water and she just, for some reason, takes a jab at him for no reason. Listen.
Maybe a little bit longer than we wish we could. Please take a sip of your water.
What?
Do you not want privacy, Michael? I mean, do you not?
Look at his.
Do you not want?
Look at his face when she says that.
Take a sip of your water. Do you not want privacy, Michael? I mean, do you not want relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, friendships, space, not shared walls with mom and dad?
I do want those things.
Yeah. So
Bro, it's really easy to just get out and get those things. Like, what the hell? Yeah, why'd she say that anyway? Yeah, take a swig of your water, as if he just did something completely out of pocket. The hell?
Parents took you to court though to force you out of their home, and you sat there and you represented yourself and you argued that you should have more time. I know that you wanted the 6 months, and I've heard you say, ironically, by the time maybe you'll leave, it will be that 6 months. The court didn't side in your favor. Will you fight the court? Will you fight your parents on this?
I'm going to send a letter that I've already prepared to my parents' attorney that says if you send an order to the court, it's a proposed order that is for 3 months, there's a possibility the court won't accept that, although I don't think that makes any sense. I'm not a lawyer, I don't really know, but I guess the court can just can deny any proposed order that they like. But I would say to the attorney, I'm saying to the attorney, if you put this proposed order for 3 months in, or a proposed order for 3 months in, I won't fight anymore for the case. And the ironic thing is that if they had sent me the 6 month notice to quit in February, it would have cost them $0 in legal expenses.
Oh my God. Now he's pulling the angle of I could have saved them money if they just capitulated to me in the beginning. Like, what the hell kind of argument is that, dude? You're already in the situation that you're in. You can't then retroactively say, well, in hindsight, if they would have just listened to me in the beginning, we wouldn't have been in this situation. Dude, you're already in this situation. It doesn't matter anymore. That's completely fucking irrelevant.
So, okay. legal expenses aside and time spent in court, I'm sure you're irked. I'm sure your parents are irked. But, you know, you only have one mom and dad. And I understand that you are probably more upset than even you're letting on. But don't you want to reconcile with them?
No. No, I don't.
No.
I mean, are you aware of the component regarding my son and about how I lost my visitation? Yeah. So right after that, they're like, well, you know.
Yeah, no comment about that, but some people in the comments are like insanely amazed that this guy has a son.
We want you to start doing, don't worry about your case, that's a full-time job, doing setting up an appeal for an order like that for custody and visitation. You know, what you need to do right now is get a full-time job and get health insurance, or we're going to throw you out. And it was devastating to lose my son. And I was just, it really, I was done with them. I was done with them after that. I was done with them after.
I was done with them. He's talking about his mom and dad, by the way, talking about them as if they've wronged him in a business sense or something.
That point.
My heart goes out to you on the custody issue.
God, she's so passive aggressive.
The last piece of this, though, Michael, and this is really my last question. There are a lot of people who have read about your story, and the thought bubble is, what is up with this millennial generation?
I love how journalists do this. She's framing it as if the peanut gallery is saying this, but this is what she's thinking, really. She wanted to ask him this question without coming at him directly. So she framed it as if the people, the mysterious people out there are saying this. What do you have to say to those people? But you know this is coming directly from her. Listen how she frames this question. Very manipulative.
And the thought bubble is, what is up with this millennial generation that you guys seem so entitled? What would you say to those critics?
That's what she's thinking.
I would say that I'm really not a member of that demographic that they're speaking to, of that group. I'm a very conservative person. The millennials that they're speaking to are very liberal in their ideology.
But you're 30, so technically I think you are part of the millennial generation. I don't think there's a delineation between.
You're right. But when people speak to the millennials and their general nature as a millennial, they speak to more liberal leanings.
What does that have to do with anything?
Do you disagree?
I don't think it's for me to disagree. I think a millennial is a millennial based upon the year that you were born. Okay. But I think it's totally your opinion to say, you know, that doesn't apply to me. And with that, Michael Rotundo, I appreciate you coming on. I truly wish you the best of luck. And
I am a millennial.
Yes, Michael.
Thanks. Welcome.
That's the most awkward fucking ending ever, dude. Look at his face. I am a millennial. Yes, Michael, you are. Thanks. You're welcome. And then he does that smile.
So that was one of the more surreal interviews we've taken part of here in the last.
Yeah. This lady was also part of a very famous CNN segment where a guy went on her show and said that the only thing he truly believes in this world is guns and boobs. The only two things that have never let him down. And it turned into this big fucking circus of people arguing about what the hell he was talking about. That's another very famous CNN clip. Yeah, right here.
And
that's one of the other things I know this lady from. Watch.
And that had absolutely nothing to do with sports. And they said, look, you can't have this opinion. It's too conservative. We're not going to allow it. I think that's a bad move. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I believe in only two things completely: the First Amendment and boobs.
Yeah, the First Amendment and boobs. Look at this guy's face on the left, too. He's like, what the fuck did you just say? Watch her face, especially.
And so I believe in only two things.
I mean, he laughed even after he said it, so he knew how absurd it was. But just looking at their faces after he says it is even more funny.
Completely, the First Amendment and boobs. And so once they made the decision that they were not going to allow a conservative non-sports related commentary, they couldn't do it.
Hold on.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly as a woman anchoring the show. Did you say, what did you just say? You believe in the First Amendment and BWBS?
Boobs. Two things that have only never let me down in this entire country's history. The First Amendment.
Wow, dude. Boobs have never let you down in this entire country's history. What does that mean?
And boobs. So those are the only two things I believe in absolutely in the country. And so I don't think Jemele Hill should be fired, but I do think straight up that once you make the decision that you are going to let Curt Schilling.
Yeah, that it goes on from there, but trust me, there's nothing more interesting than what he said there. It's just them going back and forth about what the hell he was talking about. Oh, wow, the number one comment. This would be really inappropriate to say on a serious news show. Good thing he was just on CNN. Okay, all right. No more CNN. No more CNN, dude, but yeah. So the guy who got kicked out of his parents' house, okay, he did eventually get a job at a Best Buy. He was forced to move out. You know, he was legally ordered to move out finally, so he did. He gets a job at Best Buy. He gets fired for not showing up, and then he immediately goes and draws up another lawsuit to try to sue Best Buy because he says that Best Buy discriminated against him for being a single male parent. So he tried to sue them for $400,000 in damages. Like, this guy is just doing everything in his power to not have to just go work an everyday job. Like, he was trying to just get a big settlement and just coast. But he failed. Like, Best Buy brought all the receipts. They proved without a doubt that he wasn't showing up on time, and then he was disciplined correctly according to the company standard, and he didn't get anywhere with that. So yeah, the lawsuit failed, and I don't know what he's up to now, but you know, considering that video was 6 years ago, he's about 36, 37 years old now, so I don't know. But yeah, that was something, dude. That just came up in my recommended earlier, and I was like, what the hell is this? I moved out from my parents' house when I was either 18 or 19. I don't think it's healthy. Unless, you know, obviously there's extenuating circumstances and stuff, but I don't think it's healthy to stay with your parents too much longer after you're 25 or so. I think 25 for me is kind of my personal cutoff. Not that I'm judging anybody else, because it's none of my fucking business. But that's just how I feel. I feel like 25 is a nice middle ground. It's like, all right, time to go out and do your own things. Now today, it's a little bit different though, because shit's so expensive. So I totally get why people stay at home and just kind of save their money for a number of years. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Just a second. Now, there's some very, very interesting Nightmare Fuel videos that have been uploaded that we'll take a look at here in a second. Oh god, the TikTok links. What's this gonna be, dude? Banger V3 video. humans. AI will change the way we live. Humans using AI. Uh-oh. Cursed is what it is. Why am I not surprised you would send me a cursed TikTok link?
Yeah, you can. I do. Those? Wow. Those, you're keeping those on, right?
I guess, but I really gotta...
Yeah, Mr. White.
Dr. Red, go to your room. We're not here to talk. We're not here to discuss things. You need some time to think about what you've done. That's what you need. And I need some time to take me a little Tylenol. Just one. Oh, that timing. The hell is that emote? Ray of Darkness? She looks like a pro wrestler dancing in that. Yes, I'm making everything about wrestling. Sue me, dude. Honestly, though, why is everybody so obsessed with Rhea Ripley? That's all I want to know. It seems like every single time anything related to female pro wrestling is going on right now, everybody's talking about Rhea Ripley. This is her. I mean, she's got the whole, like, goth look going on, so I guess I kind of get it. But everybody does that weird shit they did with Lady Dimitrescu, where they're just like, oh, you know, goth mommy this and stomp on me and this, that, and the other. I'm like, guys, this shit is weird. You guys need to chill out, you know? Wrestling used to be really good. I think wrestling got boring once they pretty much discovered like basically once they had explored every storyline that could possibly happen. Like obviously my peak era is the Attitude Era, as Stone Cold famously said, the WWF Attitude Era, like 1996 to 2003. That's my favorite era. But I think they just got to a point where they had explored every storyline, and especially I think interesting characters stopped happening after like Kane. After Kane got introduced, there haven't really been that many interesting characters like John Cena. He's just a guy. You know, there's no like interesting story about John Cena. He's just a dude who wears jorts and beats the shit out of people. Like what interesting storyline is there about John Cena? Except that he wins everything. Yeah, like he just wears a hat that says you can't see me and does this all the time. Like Kane was actually an interesting story. Undertaker is the best character they've ever made. Stone Cold was an amazing character. Sting was a great character. You know what I mean? Like they just don't do good characters and good storylines anymore. It's all the same shit. The only thing they really mess with now is like the timing of stuff and like surprising entrances out of nowhere. Yeah, Mick Foley being Mankind with the mask and everything. Like he had a look, he had a character about him. That first edition, oh, the Shockmaster, yeah. The first edition of Kane is like one of my favorite wrestler looks ever, where he had like the sleeveless arm with the red mask. Let's see. Yeah, like this version of Kane is fucking awesome. Look at this. Oh. This is the best. Like, this is the type of cool shit they used to do, man. Look at that. That dude looks like a beast. He's got the one contact. He's got the red mask. You know what I mean? Like, characters used to be way cooler. But that especially, dude, that is just awesome. I think a lot of people related to the horror aspect of that, you know. Somebody that was working within wrestling was a student of horror to come up with this look. And I think it was a big downgrade once he, you know, started doing the tank and everything. I thought the original look was the best. Yeah, excellent design, man. Like, and it's hilarious to think Kane is now a mayor in Knox County, Tennessee. He's like one of the most intelligent guys ever to go in the circuit. Kane actually was featured on an episode of Weakest Link, which was a 2000s game show. And he was like by far the best, and he ended up winning. And he answered some really difficult questions too, like shit that I hadn't even heard of. He's a very, very smart guy. So that's not shocking. It's all, I don't, a lot of people find it really ironic when you learn things like that, but it's like, I mean, you kind of have to be smart to get into wrestling anyway, because yeah, here's the thing. Wrestling is not fake. It's just staged. There's a difference. Okay. They're not faking doing these massive high flying flips and moonsaults and kicks, and like they're actually taking serious damage in some instances. They're actually using those digs to like cut their foreheads so they bleed a lot and it looks convincing. But they're actually doing those things. They're not just faking all of it. It's not like corn syrup and fake blood being splashed. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between fake and scripted, or fake and staged. So there is an art to pro wrestling. There's an art to the performance of it. And it takes a huge, massive, massive toll on their bodies as well. Like most people cannot continue wrestling very much into their 40s. Are they trying to kill each other? No. But are they doing it? Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's like just because they're trying to land in a way that doesn't severely injure the opponent doesn't mean that they didn't just do a fucking massive high flying flip from the top rope and risk severe injury. They are at risk at all times when they do shit like that. So yeah. But yeah, unfortunately I can't watch any of my favorite wrestlers' entrances because, yeah. Because of copyright, but I do think that some of the storylines were hilarious too. Like you were talking about, fake or not, a fall and a hit is still a fall and a hit. Absolutely. Shane McMahon jumping from like 25 feet is nuts. You can't fake that. Yeah, or like you were talking about Mick Foley. Mick Foley getting thrown off the fucking, like, yeah, the table that he landed on was a prop table where they had the middle, basically. The way they do the prop tables is they basically pre-saw the table. So the table's already been sawed in half, and they just will like patch it together so that as soon as they hit it, it crumbles, right? But just because he's landing on a prop table doesn't mean that he didn't just get chucked off of like a 12-foot cage. Like that shit is still gonna severely hurt. Hey, what's up, Kendo?
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow. Right, yeah, getting pile driven into the thumbtacks and rolling around in them after the fact because it didn't hurt bad enough. Like, good God, man. I especially love Jim Ross, the commentator. I'm a firm believer that it's not real wrestling unless you have a cowboy hat wearing Texas dude on commentary. By God, he's torn in half. And The Rock is beating him senseless like a government mule. It's so stupid, beating him like a government mule. What does that mean, dude? What is he doing exactly? And then, you know, like Kane comes out and he goes, he's just a despicable human with no conscience. Like looking him right in the eyes as he says it too. I especially love Jim Ross, like talking about Triple H, where he would just call him a son of a bitch all the time. He's like, you know, him and Chris Benoit were talking in the ring and Triple H was saying something about himself and Jim Ross just goes, yeah, he's a son of a bitch if you ask me. Just talking right over him. What the fuck? And then Triple H had a fucking sledgehammer getting ready to hit Stephanie, his fiance at the time. And he goes, "You son of a bitch, don't you hit her." So stupid, dude. Why, Triple H? Why? Tell me why. Like he's just demanding an answer. One of the comments was insane. It said, like, Jim Ross had me thinking that Triple H was worse than Bin Laden. As a 12-year-old. It's not wrong, dude. He acted like he was the worst human being on planet Earth. Jim Ross calling Triple H a son of a bitch compilation. Now this one we could probably watch because it's really short. It's not wrong, dude. Look at it. I'll show the comment after this.
That son of a bitch! Why, Triple H? You son of a bitch! Why? Tell me why! Damn Triple H! Damn his soul! You son of a bitch! Don't you hit her!
You son of a bitch! Don't you hit her! Why does he have a sledgehammer about to hit his wife? What the hell? Or his fiance? What was this? What was going on here?
Don't you hit her! You cost Austin the title! You bastard! He's gonna rot in hell for what he did here tonight!
Oh my god.
Does he have no conscience? Does he have no heart? Do you have no soul? You son of a bitch!
He's gonna rot in hell for what he did here tonight. Here we go. This is the #1 comment on here. This is what I was talking about. JR had 11 to 12-year-old me thinking Triple H was worse than Bin Laden, LMFAO. Not wrong. What's he doing? You son of a bitch, don't you hit her. Don't you hit her. Fucking just lifting up his sledgehammer, getting ready to hit his fiance, by the way. And then someone responded and said, well, he did, only one of the two of them cost Austin the title. Yeah, right here. Well, only one, between Triple H and Bin Laden, only one of them ever cost Austin the title, so it's clear who the worst person is. Oh my god. Wrestling is fucking awesome, dude. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if they think it's the most American beer chugging, company ever. I fucking love wrestling for stuff like this. Like I have died laughing at so many wrestling comment sections, dude. Does he have no conscience? Does he have no heart? Does he have no soul? You son of a bitch. Good God. Wrestling is fucking awesome, dude. That's Jim Ross. Look at Jim Ross. He looks exactly like what you would expect. This is him right here. Does he not look exactly like what you would expect? Got the cowboy hat on and everything. Oh, that's also the Enigma clip where it says, "Shut up, bitch." You guys know that clip on his stream? That's The Rock talking to Triple H, where he's like, "I know one thing's for sure. The Rock is something you'll never be, which is undisputed champion, so shut up, bitch." And then they just go, "Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God." And they just basically shit themselves at the commentator's table because he said that. By God, he's torn in half. Yeah, Jim Ross being a national treasure for 25 minutes. Oh my God. You missed one where Triple H said to Chris Benoit, "I am reality," and JR said, "Nah, he's a son of a bitch if you ask me." Oh my God. Got him. Oh man. Honestly, that's what's missing from the wrestling now is the comedy aspect. They focus way too hard on they focus way too hard on the, you know, trying to chest puff and look hard and cut their promos and everything and do these high flying moves, but like they forgot about the aspect of playing into it so much that the absurdity is hilarious. They just don't do that anymore. They don't really play into stuff like this anymore, at least not the way they used to. And it's not just me saying that. Like, I remember seeing just the other day that like they're laying off a ton of employees right now because wrestling in general is just not doing so hot. Like, I don't think we'll ever reach the peaks that the Attitude Era reached, because nowadays it's just like everybody just wants to expose it, you know? Everybody wants to expose pro wrestling and the tricks, but like in the Attitude Era, we didn't know how these things were done, so there was still like a sense of mystique to it. We didn't know that I didn't know that Stone Cold was just a character, you know, played by Steve Austin. I didn't know that, you know, Undertaker was just Mark. You know, I thought Undertaker was a real dead man who was like coming back to life to dominate his opponents and shit. But, you know, wrestling was way more believable back then because we didn't have 3 or 4 motherfuckers on Reddit trying to expose every trick they do. But, you know, I also think just as I got older, I kind of lost interest in it because it started to feel very samey. And it is in a lot of ways, to be fair. Like, nowadays, you would never see a bit in modern day wrestling where like Steve Austin tracks down Vince McMahon as he's in the hospital and smacks him over the head with a fucking bedpan. Like, they just don't do hilarious stuff like that anymore, to my knowledge at least. Yeah, skip the Raw, skip the SmackDown, just watch WrestleMania. Like, just watch the main event. Yeah, I saw, like, because the only reason I know about WrestleMania happening recently is because DSP was covering it on his, like, wrestling-themed show. That's the only reason why I know about it at all. But yeah, I think the last one that I ever watched was 2015, and it was fucking absurd. So I'll tell this story really quick, and then we'll get on to our Nightmare Fuel, I promise. But in 2015 was WrestleMania 31, and I believe they had outdoor WrestleMania in Giants Stadium that year. And that was what they call the heist of the century. So the main event, the title match, was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And this was when Roman Reigns was like just coming into his era. So this was like the match. Like, this was the one that everybody wanted to see. So they're both just absolutely, legitimately beating the shit out of each other. And then they're both like laying in the ring exhausted. And out of nowhere, Seth Rollins runs out and cashes in what's called Money in the Bank and steals the title. Like, he basically runs out, cashes in Money in the Bank, just elbow drops both of them and just wins. And then he just grabs the belt and runs away just as quick as he came out. And everybody's just like, they got their hands on their head and shit. It's like, what the fuck, dude? That's so weird. But apparently they have this new thing called Money in the Bank, which you can win by doing the Authority's dirty work. The Authority is Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, since they run things now. But apparently if you do the Authority's dirty work, you can win what's called Money in the Bank. And what it is you basically just, whenever you cash it in, you win a title shot. Whenever you want a title shot, you get it when you have this thing. So he won Money in the Bank and he held on to it for like a year. And whenever WrestleMania 31 happened, he just runs out. I can't show the footage because they'd copyright strike the shit out of me, but he just runs out, cashes it in, and then steals the title and runs away. And both Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are just sitting there dead in the ring. You know, it was so dumb, and they called it like the heist of the century. And I just remember being like, yeah, I think I'm done with wrestling. Like, after I watched that, I was like, that was just boring as fuck. It happened recently. Yeah. Seth Rollins is like, I mean, he's good and everything, but there's just nothing special about him, you know? He's like a modern day Shawn Michaels, same build and everything. There's literally just nothing special about him. Oh my God. Have you guys seen, I think we talked about this a little bit, but have you guys seen all the VTuber drama going on recently? Did you, you guys already know how I feel about VTubers in general, but did you know how much drama goes on in that community on a daily basis? Because I had no idea. And when I say how I feel about VTubers, I don't mean that in a strictly negative sense. I just mean that I don't enjoy watching them, and so I've never really understood what goes on in those communities. But apparently, like, one of the biggest VTube creators is named Shy Lily, and she apparently was like one of the main targets of the whole Hogwarts Legacy thing whenever that was happening. So that was a big thing. But here recently, there's one named Cinder, who it turns out was just like, this is the most terminally online thing, by the way. I had no time to read all this. I still need to watch like a summary of everything that happened. But I watched like a few minutes of it, okay? A couple years ago, Roman and Lesnar fought for like 7 minutes. They spammed their finishers until one of them won. It was one of the worst things ever. They probably got paid tons for that slop too, main event. Yeah, it's like, that's the other thing. I think Undertaker has talked about this, but he basically said like every possible finisher that you can do without injuring somebody has already been done. Like the only thing that you can do is either tribute finisher, like doing a stunner just because you want to pay tribute to Stone Cold, or doing a tombstone because you want to pay tribute. But like original finishers, they basically don't exist anymore, you know? Yeah, you did, Dr. Red. But yeah, this was an incredibly terminally online thing. So, it's an incredibly terminally online thing. So I haven't read like all the Google Docs, but apparently there's like 6 or 7 different VTubers that all came out and basically exposed this one named Cinder for being a very just conniving, backstabbing, you know, like, just lying to people and like trying to steal their artists and steal their editors and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Just being very conniving and backstabbing people while in other conversations talking like they're BFFs and stuff like that. So basically there was this artist named Nanoless who blew the lid on all this shit and was like, I've been dealing with this situation for a while. I'm putting all this out there, yada, yada. So Nanoless, I believe is she puts out that Cinder said, you know, you don't work with these people anymore. You only work with me, and tried to like really manipulate this artist into doing that. So much so that this artist was pressured into canceling a bunch of work that had already been done for other VTubers, and they were like fucking devastated because they had been working for months on this stuff. But yeah, eventually Nanoless got sick of it and blew the lid on everything. So there were all these other VTubers who thought they were good friends with this Cinder person. Turns out they were getting stabbed in the back by him. So they were like going live, like fucking sobbing and crying about this. And like Cinder has released a very mid apology where it's just like, oh, you know, I was just being very business oriented and I didn't think about friendship and I didn't think about the humanity aspect. Like, meanwhile, you have these VTubers that are actually like fucking bawling on stream because they just were getting backstabbed and now they don't trust anybody and all this other shit. I'm like, man, what is going on in this community? Holy shit. And Cinder has basically gone dark ever since dropping the apology Google Doc. She's basically just gone missing. So she was originally at like 320,000 Twitter followers and is down to 286K and has lost like 40,000 from other platforms as well. But the thing is with VTubers, return to sender, address unknown, no such person, no such soul. Basically the thing with VTubers is if they get into hot enough water, sometimes what they'll do is they'll just shut down the brand of their current name. Like Cinder, I don't think will ever be able to return to streaming or YouTube without just getting roasted into oblivion. So what Cinder's probably going to do is just never stream as Cinder ever again, and we'll probably just try to rebrand as a completely new character in a new, you know, avatar or whatever. They do that all the time. When they get caught in bad enough controversy, they basically just disappear and then come back later as a completely different character and hope everybody forgets about the old one. Now, again, probably won't work out this time around because Cinder got exposed for so much and like people will probably recognize the voice and stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. Very terminally online, but it's like they basically dropped the fucking Kennedy investigation of Google Docs. Like so many different VTubers dropping like 20 paragraph Google Docs. Like I literally would have to watch a recap to find out what all happened. But it's fucking insane, man. So it's basically the whole ruthless businesswoman thing. Cyrax tried that VTuber stuff. The tracker couldn't understand how to track his eye, and it kept... Good God. Like, there was a horror streamer. I'm not going to name names, but there was a horror streamer who tried VTubing a few years ago, and it didn't work out for her. It just depends. Like, it depends on the audience. I feel like the only way for you to become a successful VTuber is to start out doing it. You can't, like... You can't conduct a stream like mine and then out of nowhere just introduce an avatar and be like, all right, guys, we're going in a virtual direction and it's all VTubing now. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to work. People are going to say, okay, well, I'm out because I don't like VTubing. And it's also much like podcasting and streaming in general. It's a very, very, very saturated space. It's not easy to get into VTubing now because there's just so many people doing it. Yeah, I can't deal with that either, Dr. Red, where it's like they all have the voice changers to try to make their voice super high and they're all pretending to be anime characters. Like, I understand that there's a market for that and I'm not going to knock it if it pays the bills, but it's just not for me. It's not something that I would ever enjoy watching. Not that it needs to be. I mean, not every piece of content on Twitch is for me, and that's cool. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I gotta watch it or support it, so I don't.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So anyways, you know, I think that I just needed to touch some grass after learning about all this. So I did. But now it's time, I believe, for some Nightmare Fuel. Where did I come up with the number 1408? Partly the movie and partly just because when I say Nightmare Fuel, I just randomly smash keys. Now, because we've done it so many times. Why does this keep happening, by the way? Okay. It works for like a little bit, and then if it's too long between messages, it just stops working for some reason. But yeah, you actually showed up right when we were getting into the Nightmare Fuel. Cyrax on YouTube? Oh my god. Uh-oh. Yeah, you can already see the eyes. I'm not touching that with a 50-foot pole. Get me out of here. I'm gonna check out here, dude. But let's see. Let's check out our boy Chilling Skiers. Oh, the stealth camping one is the last one he uploaded. You know, there were other camping ones that we didn't watch, though. Obscure internet mysteries. I know some of these we've seen. I just watched them on Chrome. That's why they're not showing here. Oh yeah, Malum, by the way, I think I talked about this on stream a while back, but we also are going to be just going live, me and Future here soon, to just watch the entire Real Silent Hill experience. I'll be on the top left of the screen, he'll be on the top right, and we're just going to watch all of it from start to finish. Maybe not in one sitting, probably it'll take 2 streams to get it done, We might do 2 Saturdays in a row. In fact, I'm going to ask him if he's down to do that this weekend. Because for me, like 7 p.m. on a Saturday is early morning for him on a Sunday. So that's the best time for us to do something like that. So we could probably watch, the first at least 2 or 3 hours worth of it. I gotta be honest though, I'm kind of losing interest in Nexpo videos. Nexpo has been leaning really, really, really hard into like the whole horror, like it's turning into a trope, the horror YouTuber cadence. And he's leaning very hard into like, I found just watching a few minutes of his most recent video called The Real Blair Witch Incident, where at least 3 or 4 times I was like, dude, just fucking get on with it. Just tell me what's happening. Like he just delays everything and tries to make these dramatic cuts and edits, but it's like it eventually just gets to the point, like just get to the fucking purpose of the video, please. Just tell me what's going on. Like the video's 31 minutes long, but it probably could have easily been 10 to 12. You know what I mean? It's just dragged out by long, annoying editing. And I get it because he has like a sponsor read and everything, so it has to be a decent length video, but man, it did not need to be 30 minutes for real. Yeah. I think my favorite videos that he makes are Darkest Lost Media and Disturbing Things from Around the Internet. I think those are his 2 best styles of video, hands down. All right, sorry about that. Anyways, yeah, I was hanging out in Future Stream a couple days ago, and that shit was super fun. Everybody was in there kind of, just chatting about this and or that. Retention pays. Yeah, no, for sure, dude. Like, the whole, do you guys remember the pushing for 10 minutes meme? Because I do. It was basically like, YouTube changed significantly. Life of Luxury would be a fun watch. Yeah, YouTube changed significantly in maybe 2015 or so. Before 2015, the only thing that YouTube cared about was watch time, as in how long somebody was watching a video. But then, after 2015, they changed it to be solely focused on likes. So before 2015, maybe 2012 to 2014, everybody would make their video like 10 minutes and a couple seconds, just so they could hit that 10-minute watch time threshold and get certain ads on the video. So people started to notice that videos would, like with very simple topics, would be stretched into oblivion to make them 10 minutes just so they could hit that threshold and put certain ads on the video. It was very annoying time on YouTube. And then after that, it just turned into the begging for likes era. Smash the like button, demolish that shit. Just fucking every spare millisecond begging for likes. That's what it turned into. But I think overall, what really kills me the most about YouTube nowadays is things, again, I think we're back into a watch time era where everybody is trying to push as hard as they possibly can. I think people are trying to make everything into a video essay. That's what annoys me now. It can't just be a simple, this happened, that happened, then this happened, and that happened. It always has to be a fucking 30-minute to an hour-long video essay in every possible scenario. Oh, me too. Like, it's called like the reactionary circle of YouTube, where basically it's like a drama happens, the story breaks, so to speak, almost always on Twitter or Reddit or 4chan or whatever. And then 7, 8, 9, 10 different YouTubers are all covering the story and saying the same things and just putting their own little spin on it over like Marvel Rivals gameplay. Like that's what people do now. And it's funny because that's actually kind of a return to form to very, very early YouTube, because very early YouTube was like that as well, where everybody would just put up a little Call of Duty like Black Ops 1 or Modern Warfare 2 gameplay and talk about internet drama. You know, it's funny how that's kind of come around full circle and people are still doing that and getting tons of views by doing it. And I'm not going to lie, I would love to be in that position because it's so easy to make that shit, dude. Like in a lot of cases, these channels, they'll just reuse the same gameplay over and over and over and over because the gameplay is irrelevant. It's just basically all you're listening to, you're just listening to the video. The gameplay is irrelevant. So they'll just record like endless hours of gameplay and just put as much as they need for the video in there. And then you just talk over the whole video and you're good to go. That's all you got to do, man. It's so easy. It's like the easiest content ever, you know? Or ones where, basically like what I do sometimes, I try to edit mine a little bit more, but basically you just sit in this exact setup. You put a little logo on the screen, kind of like this. Where is my... Yeah, like you just put a little logo on the screen like this. And it's like, you know, hey everybody, you know, we're here to make a YouTube video now. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of YouTubers do now. Like they just put a little logo at the bottom and then they use that to say like, hey, I'm recording a YouTube video right now or something like that. You know what I mean? And that's easy too. Like there's a lot of ways to just put out a ton of really easy content nowadays that requires virtually no editing. In the case of that one that I showed, it's literally no editing. You just click start recording and you just talk for a few minutes and there's your YouTube video, you know? Hey guys, this X, Y, or Z happened today and I'm here to talk about it, you know? So it's never been easier to start a YouTube channel and start uploading consistently. Unfortunately, I haven't discovered that yet. The thing is, I just don't want to upload slop. You know, I don't want to upload slop and to be considered someone that uploads slop. That's just not something I'm interested in doing and not something that I want to do. So if I put up a video and it gets like over 1,000 views, I'm very happy with that. And that's all I need. But it gets very old having to like, you know, I just hate the video editing process. I'll be 1,000 with it. I hate fucking sitting at the Adobe timeline editing video. It's really fun once you start to make progress, but it's looking at a blank timeline and figuring out what your intro is going to be and figuring out what you're going to talk about and putting the music and stuff. That's where I'm like, ugh. Once you have that part sorted, it's super, super fun and it's really addictive and enjoyable. But it's starting the new project file is what gets me every time. It just is very, very annoying. But, you know, it's part of it. And trying to balance that with streaming and everything. Thank God I don't have to mess with that StreamVod channel anymore, to be 100% with you guys. I loved the StreamVod channel while it was up, but it's so nice that now every stream I've done since we first started on YouTube is just archived and we don't have to worry about it whatsoever. That is so fucking nice. So, you know, that's part of the huge benefit of streaming on YouTube is you don't have to worry about that whatsoever. Oh yeah, and I'm also going to be requesting some time off and we're going to be doing a Silent Hill story marathon again. I have not played a single video game on this stream since Nemesis like 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So we're due to actually play something. Let me use the bathroom really quick and then we'll actually start our video. I've got it queued up. We're going to watch the real Blair Witch incident anyways. But you guys will see what I mean about the editing. The camera follows. You guys will see what I mean about the editing, but we can always skip around if need be, all right? So let me switch to this. And I'll just hide my camera. Oh, never mind. I got to pull this up in in Chrome. Oh, it's already up in Chrome. Never mind. You know, this video in particular does bring up a really interesting point, which is like late 90s, early 2000s documentaries on channels like VH1, or no, not VH1, on channels like HBO, Showtime, Starz, and stuff like that, that are just basically lost media now, unless somebody downloaded it and saved it. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff from that time that's just completely gone because the internet wasn't around too much. But even though I was just bitching about his editing, Nexpo does have top tier editing. So, just a preference thing, you know?
Well, to be honest with you, this isn't really about anything. This is about us. Charlie, get her halfway done.
You see what I mean? Like, this movie trailer editing kills me, dude.
It's a late night. Unassuming. Quiet. The Walton Files blares on your bedroom TV, filling the void of darkness around you. It's peaceful, comfortable even. You scroll through Reddit, searching for something to pass the time. Before, out of nowhere,
Lost documentary, the real Blair Witch. Yeah, there's also a lot of things that have IMDb titles as well, or pages, that are also missing. There seems to be so little information about this documentary out there and absolutely nowhere to watch it. I recall it being on TV and there's one or two references to it out there. It has nothing to do with the Blair Witch Project and is more of a true crime documentary. I'd love to see it again, and it has frustrated me for years now not being able to track it down. It must be out there in some archive somewhere, but I'm guessing being its lack of availability makes it kind of lost.
A lone post by Emerald Spring populates your feed. They're searching for something, some sort of lost documentary called The Real Blair Witch. There seems to be so little information about this documentary out
I just read
there.
that.
It's more of a now, not being able, guessing its lack of availability kind of makes it lost. At first glance, this seems relatively unassuming. Yet another lost media mystery with hardly a lead to go on. Yet the name, The Real Blair Witch, shrouds it in this weird tinge of dread. I don't know what it is, but something about the way this is framed, the lack of information, something about this has sparked something. Within their post, Emerald Spring provides a link to its IMDb page, revealing that there's hardly anything to go off.
Is this the original sequel, by the way? Because I remember they made an awful sequel to the original Blair Witch. I forget if it was called Shadow of or The Blair Witch Legacy. And then I know they made a really awful kind of reboot recently in like 2016 or 17 or something like that. But all I mainly knew is that the sequel was dog shit. That's what everybody says.
Of. The page is barren. Just one review, a release year, and director. The only tangible bit of info here is the plot summary. A group of teens from Flint, Michigan film themselves kidnapping and terrorizing a new acquaintance before taking her out to the woods and dumping her in a shallow grave. They then taunt their terrified and blindfolded victim, asking if she had any last requests before they cut her throat. But was the kidnap real or just a game?
The director wrote
What's
this.
revealed is an extraordinary and disturbing record of a night when something went terribly, terribly wrong. Well, now you've got my attention. With such a graphic, visceral description,
I remember.
such an inhuman.
I do love Lost Media. I will say I browse that one all the time. I remember watching this documentary on UK's Channel 4. I remember it being fairly interesting, and I'm surprised I haven't managed to find it again. It was about a mock/real kidnapping of a girl. It did seem like the girl was in on it at some points, and at other points it looks like she was in fear for her life.
Main crime. Curiosity in this case took off on Reddit. Comment after comment poured in, expressing interest in tracking this footage down. Most believed in its existence, others not so much. Regardless, though, the common theme here was intrigue. The Blair Witch Project, back when it came out, was horrifying, and the implications of someone recreating this in real life to torment
By the way, the acting in this movie is still top notch. For these people being quote-unquote non-actors, they did a phenomenal job of acting in this movie. I know a lot of people like to shit talk the acting in it. I don't know why, because I think the acting is phenomenal. I've always said that.
very real person sounds like it's straight out.
Hey,
of
welcome
a
back,
nightmare.
Dr. Ed.
What in the world did Emerald Spring watch back then? What truly is this? Over the following weeks, whispers about the doc's existence would trickle in. Mentions in online articles. A trailer on a production company called Raw TV's own Vimeo
about
page.
sneeze.
But what really sent this mystery into the stratosphere was nearly an entire year later when a Redditor named Transbian8787 would chime in with the revelation that no one saw coming.
I have a studio
The
master
Blair
copy
Witch,
that I'm
as it
currently
turned out.
uploading. Makes me wonder if this person actually worked on this, like this project. Like, how do you just obtain a studio master copy of something like this?
Was very real. However, once Pandora's box was opened and the internet began to sink their collective teeth into it, it was realized that this story is much, much stranger than anyone had imagined. The Real Blair Witch isn't just a film. It's a glance into one of the eeriest, most bizarre incidents that I have ever read about, ensnaring nearly everyone involved.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the event of an emergency, please walk to the nearest exit. Thank you.
Oh. Silent Hill 3 music. Heather. That's what you're called now, isn't it?
When the Blair Witch Project hit theaters in 1999, it didn't just scare audiences, it changed the horror genre. More than just a film, it became a psychological experiment that made people question what was real and what wasn't.
Oh, dude, this when I was growing up, like I was very young when this movie came out, just the idea of it scared me. Like everybody was talking about this movie and how going to see it, like there was even a rumor that going to see it was going to curse you. You know, like there was crazy shit going on about this movie. It was like the Exorcist movie going experience of the late 90s.
The setup was simple. 3 young filmmakers set out to document an old urban legend, only to vanish without a trace. What remained was the footage they left behind. But unlike traditional horror films, this story had no scripted feel, no heart-stopping jump scares, just raw, unfiltered horror. The shaky camera work, improvised dialogue, and eerie silence between panicked breaths all made it feel as if it were set in reality. And that was exactly the point. The movie, as you'd expect, became an overnight sensation, shattering records and opening the door to a completely fresh, realistic, and raw form of terror.
A more modern example would be Paranormal Activity. The first Paranormal Activity from 2009 was very similar to this. Very low budget, very, cheap effects, but it ended up grossing like hundreds of millions of dollars. It was kind of the same deal with Blair Witch, like very, very low budget. They basically had no budget at all. Everything. Oh, what's up, Monster? We're watching a video called The Real Blair Witch Incident about a documentary that was lost media for a long time and recently got discovered. So now our boy Nexpo is giving us the rundown. Right now, he's just talking about the Blair Witch phenomenon, which is when the first Blair Witch movie came out and kind of exploded in popularity and made a lot of people try to copy it. Does it end with someone standing in the corner? I don't know. Hey, by the way, YOLO, fucking Twitch unfollowed me from your stream. I went to watch as you were watching that tournament last night or 2 nights ago, whatever it was, and it said follower only chat. I'm like, what the fuck? I've been following for years. So I don't know if I fell asleep when I was watching it and unfollowed my ass or what, but that's what they all said. No, dude, I did not fucking unfollow. I was like, did YOLO take a long break from streaming or what? I swear they do, Monster. It's not a conspiracy. They unfollow my ass from people sometimes.
However, its impact stretched well beyond the film industry. Suddenly, horror fans, amateur filmmakers, and thrill seekers were heading into abandoned locations and recording eerie footage.
Yeah.
The internet soon
it happened to you right now. You just accidentally unfollowed me, right? I'm just kidding.
Became a breeding ground for low-resolution videos claiming to document real paranormal encounters.
That's a JK.
Some were easily debunked, others less so. And that's where things began to take a strange turn. Because when an entire generation starts to believe that some of the most terrifying things can be caught on a simple high-8 tape.
Yeah, somebody mentioned in the comments that if you're a little bit older, like in the late 90s, if you were actually on the internet after Blair Witch came out, basically everybody tried to be the next Blair Witch. Everybody got their home VHS camcorders out and tried to make the next Blair Witch. I think they're making a new Nightmare on Elm Street. Dude, they need to let that guy rest. The guy that plays Freddy. Good Lord, he's like 85 years old.
It's only a matter of time before someone tries to prove it.
I love Blair Witch because it wasn't even real folklore. The writers made it all up, but the actors made the actors think it was a real thing. Found footage definitely became a subgenre. Oh, absolutely. You know what's funny, though? Blair Witch got most of its inspiration from Cannibal Holocaust, because Cannibal Holocaust was the original found footage, genre-bending thing where Cannibal Holocaust committed to the bit so hard that they made the actors sign, in their contracts, they had to sign a clause that they would make no public appearances for a whole year after the movie came out because they die at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert, I know everybody was just clamoring to watch Cannibal Holocaust, but they die at the end of the movie. So to keep the realism going, they made sure that the actors made no public appearances for a whole year. So they actually ended up, the director got in a bunch of legal hot water because they thought he really killed those people. And there was a lot of, like, some of the effects were very convincing. Like, there was an effect where a lady had a wooden pike put through her mouth, and the effect was done, basically, they had one piece here that attached to her chin and another piece that came out of her mouth, and she was sitting on a bicycle seat. So it was super, super convincing. You couldn't see it from the angle they shot it at. So he was in a lot of hot water. Like, they tried to say he killed people for the movie, he killed the actors. So he basically had to spend like a whole year fighting lawsuits, and they banned the movie everywhere. But Blair Witch wanted to kind of capitalize on the mystique. Yeah, real animals being killed, which did happen. Like, they wanted to capitalize on the mystique that Cannibal Holocaust did. Yeah, the director gets locked up all of a sudden. What's up, guys? I'm ready to do my interview now. Where's my money? So when Blair Witch came out, they wanted to create a similar effect where you didn't know if the actors were still alive or if they were dead. So the actors didn't make many public appearances at all. But once they finally did, obviously the illusion got kind of shattered there. Yeah, they did kill real animals.
Alright guys, before we continue, I'd like to tell you about tonight's video sponsor.
I don't want to hear about it, thank you. I appreciate that you have a sponsor, but I don't need to hear about it, thank you very much.
February 2002. It's a frigid night in the town of Flint, Michigan, and a 19-year-old named Danielle Taylor crosses paths with a 20-year-old Travis Peya, a community college student with big dreams of making horror films.
Well, the fact that they already have what appears to be a mugshot and a shot of her in a courtroom leads me to believe that this can't end very well.
Peya shared a house with a man named John Cockrell, another student and self-proclaimed horror fanatic.
That also looks like a mugshot.
It was the spot, per se. The hangout for their tight-knit circle, which included a James Carwile, Christina Lum, and Derek Faxlinger. At first, everything seemed mundane within their friend group.
Yeah, John looking like he wants to murder the person taking the photo. Now that's a nice, innocent man right there.
Faxlinger. At first, everything seemed mundane within their friend group. Danielle would visit the house a handful of times, and nothing seemed all that out of the ordinary. Just a few weeks later, on the night of March 6th, however, their entire dynamic would, out of nowhere, take a dark turn.
Yeah, somebody said in the comments, Monster, that why does weird shit like this always happen where there's like high lead content in the water? I wonder if there's any truth to that. I know that Flint has awful water, so I wonder if maybe there's some truth to the fact that it causes crazy shit to happen. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but maybe it's a possibility.
By complete surprise, Danielle was restrained, blindfolded, handcuffed, and threatened with murder. And all of it filmed on a single high-A tape.
The reverb and the bass boom.
Okay, I have a question for you.
The video opens inside a dimly lit house, bathed in the eerie green glow that can only be provided by an old-school night vision camera. Danielle stands front and center, seeming a bit annoyed that she's being filmed. Behind the camera is Travis Peya, his voice steady as he asks her.
Probably Flint has awful water still, and crime has apparently gone up in Flint. I don't know how true that is though, but I know their water is still cooked. Yeah, it's insane, man. It is insane that nothing more has been done about that. I was gonna say, like, this night vision filter makes everything look scary. It reminds me a lot of that show Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi, where basically if you just put the camcorder night vision filter on anything, it makes it look scary, even if it's the most mundane stuff ever.
Strange question. What would you say if you knew this was your last day on Earth? Danielle smirks, brushing off the question with a simple, fuck you.
Fucking Zach Baggins. It's, you know, Zach Baggins hears like a whisper in the distance. He goes, did it just say kill Zach? And then he starts like, bring it on. Like, he starts chest puffing the fucking apparition, the ghost. He's like challenging the ghost because he just got a chest pump in before he walked into the building. Like, what are you doing?
There's a heavy undercurrent of something else, though. Something unspoken. A shadow moves behind her. One of the men steps forward, revealing something in his hands. A blindfold, maybe a gag. And the mood shifts. Travis prompts Danielle again, this time instructing to say ready, set, go. Sensing something is off, she refuses.
He stands with his arms in a T pose and is like the ecstasy. Oh my god. That guy is something else.
Someone's behind her. Something is up here. She turns. Yet before she can react, multiple hands grab at her. She barely has time to respond before she's wrestled to the ground. She fights briefly, but it doesn't take long for her to realize she isn't getting away. Whatever this is, it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, they had mugshots and it looked like she was testifying in court, so clearly this didn't end well.
The scene cuts.
Was she not in on it? Or what? Is this one of those
ourselves in a car?
Just a
The
prank
lighting
bro
is bad.
situations?
Again, night vision. Danielle sits in the back seat, blindfolded, scared out of her mind. She's stiff, her face only showing fear.
Okay, first of all, put him in jail an extra 5 years for that haircut alone. What the fuck is that? He's actually got like the toddler straight out of the womb haircut going on. What is that gel?
Christina Lum, the only other woman to appear in the video, is driving. She doesn't say much, just keeps her eyes
The
on
Coca
the road.
Melon.
At first, the
That's
guys
so
verbally
true.
taunt her.
I know it's really dark, but like the funniest things are the truest ones.
But there's this edge to it. And then we see it. One of them, Jonathan Cockrell, has a knife, and it's pressed right up against her. They start asking her questions. Did you have a good life? Say your last words to your family. If you could go back in time and change anything,
Yeah,
would you?
I was gonna say. Hopefully.
Danielle hesitates. She tells her mom she loves her. She says she's sorry for everything. She tells those in the car with her that she has nothing to say to them. Nothing she says won't be right anyway. No one reassures her. No one tells her it's okay.
We should watch this
And the
Raw
video
documentary.
Cuts again. Deep in the heart of the forest, the camera follows as James carries Danielle over his shoulder. The group moves with a sense of purpose, heading straight for a spot they've already prepared.
This was
A shallow
2003,
grave,
I think.
barely 2 or 3 feet deep. They set her down before explaining what's coming next. They're going to cut her before burying her alive and leaving her to die. Travis stands over the pit, knife in hand. The blindfold that had been covering Danielle's eyes is pulled down around her neck, and she doesn't say a word. Following this, Travis kneels down, brings the blade right up to her, and then
Well, she didn't die.
nothing. He never actually cuts her. He mimes the act of slashing Danielle's throat before she goes completely limp and pretends to be dead.
So it was a prank. Yeah.
Congratulations, you're dead. Welcome to the afterlife.
Just like that, the entire mood shifts. The group starts laughing, giving each other pats on the back over what they had just done. One by one, they turn to the camera, introducing themselves, explaining.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, even if she was in on it, I would still find this to be a little traumatizing. Because, like, at a certain point, I wonder if she was thinking, like, is it actually a prank or is it not? Like, did they just say that to me to get me involved in this? You know what I mean?
Their roles in this so-called film. They even take bows, grinning the entire time. Danielle Taylor, as it turned out, wouldn't die that night. Contrary to the knife being held to her throat, contrary to her being tied up against her will, contrary to her being thrown haphazardly into a massive hole in the ground, this was nothing but
Yeah.
a stunt.
Oh, wasn't that the Sam Pepper prank where he basically ruined his entire life, not just his career, his entire life overnight because of that? Yeah, that was the one prank that I think went way, way too far. And not a single person was like, yeah, I'm okay with this. Like, they shut his ass down immediately over that. Yeah, that was fucking insane.
Prank for a movie. Funny, right?
So what happened? Why'd they go to jail? Or why do they have mugshots? What'd they do?
Halting the recording. The group unties her, harping on just how realistic, how entertaining her reaction was. Surely, this will seem visceral enough to make it to film. This was their big break, their escape from Flint, Michigan, after all.
I hope
For
she was in
Danielle,
on it.
though, she was far from fine. Just a few minutes before, she thought she was dying. She had nothing to laugh about here because the entire joke was solely on her.
I can't remember the name.
Wow, so they thought, you know what, just so we can get our shots, let's not tell her. So but why was she acting so weird after he fake cut her neck though? Why'd she leave her head down like that for so long?
Danielle.
So far, it's been easy to follow Danielle's state of mind throughout this. A woman trapped by those she trusted, a victim of an inhumane prank. However, that's where our central problem begins. Because was this all nothing but a sick joke? That is the question that soon becomes the heart of this entire incident. And the answer depends on who you believe.
Yeah, like she's acting like she's in on it. What were they doing right there? They were like getting her coat correct. Like she didn't even have the blindfold. What is going on here? Was she in on it or not? Just tell me. So confused.
It looks like an ordinary day in the USA, but in the city of Flint, Michigan, all is excitement, even the small fry are buzzing. And the older boys and girls are let out of school. Oh, this is a day. The whole town's a bustle. Yes, sirree, there's going to...
It better not be. Why did they have mugshots? I thought the intro where it showed their faces, half of them had mugshots and she was testifying in court. What the fuck happened?
A parade, too. And what's a parade without festive bunting and gala decorations?
The city of Flint, Michigan is undoubtedly one of desolation. It's a place once bustling, lively, full of opportunity. Yet today, it stands as nothing but a shell of what it once was. When the automotive industry backed away, it left a void of broken dreams, families with shattered aspirations. It's depressing that something like this can actually happen to those who had
Oh my God, that is the most Midwest dead-end town looking area ever right there. I have seen many of those in the South where I live too.
Hand in the matter at all. Like we established, the Blair Witch Project shattered the world, sending audiences into a frenzy and inspiring loads of those with nothing but a camera to create something horrifying of their very own.
Very true.
The entire group maintains that they all had hopes, dreams to get out of Flint and to make something of themselves. And while they could have chosen a myriad of ways to do that, the film industry, for once in its near century-long history, felt like something attainable, a vehicle to a completely new life.
Oh, don't tell me, don't tell me. I hope he talks about it in the video. I'm invested. I need to know now. I know you won't. You respect the craft.
In the following days, Danielle Taylor, reeling from the incident on March 6th, would revisit the Peya home. It was done on invitation, a night for all of them to rewatch their masterpiece. Yet for Danielle, she had other plans.
Why does it make it sound like she attacked them?
If you scream and you fight, we put a gag in your mouth and throw you in the trunk. If you relax and accept death and what's coming to you.
After the tape ran its course, she secretly swiped it, replaced it with another, And after the events of that night had wound down, she set out to report the entire group to law enforcement.
That's why the mugshots, okay.
Within a week, the lives of Jonathan Cockrell, Travis Peja, Christina Lum, James Carwile, and Derek Vaxlinger, everyone involved in perpetrating this stunt, would change. They were all arrested, finding themselves awaiting trial on kidnapping and assault charges, and facing anywhere from 7 years to life in prison under Michigan.
They really didn't tell her that it was a prank? If they didn't tell her, I would actually understand this, because that actually would be like majorly traumatic to anybody to think that they were getting kidnapped and killed, but they just weren't in on the prank. That's incredibly fucked up to do to somebody.
Contrary to their claims of simply aspiring to create a horror movie, Danielle Taylor maintained that she had no idea about any of this. To her, this was all very real, and given our glance at the footage, it's easy to empathize with her. Interestingly though, support for her wouldn't be unanimous, as once testimonies came out and the footage was given a second look, cracks in the facade began to show.
YouTube got a strike? Oh, you mean my stream? They shut my stream down? Took down for violating? I'm not surprised. Yeah, YouTube is fucking crazy, man. They always do that. So I'll upload this stream independently of that. But yeah, I'm not surprised. Let me take a look really quick. Sorry, guys. I know it's annoying for me to, but if I can, I may as well go ahead and shut down the stream. Yeah, stream unavailable, stream suspended for policy violations. That's fun. All right, well, fuck it. We'll shut the YouTube stream down. All right, YouTube stream is shut down. But we're still here. So I'll upload this as its own Nightmare Fuel segment.
Danielle, at numerous points throughout the footage, does things that make no sense. She scratches her nose. She inquires on if the rope is tight enough. And just minutes after she supposedly thought she was dying, she can be seen laughing alongside the group.
I survived, and I'm freezing and my arms hurt.
If you move anymore, I swear to God, I'm using a blade to do this.
Yeah, how does she not know? Look at her face there. It definitely looks like she knows. What is going on here?
A bizarre reaction, especially considering the circumstances. Even still, a Lapeer County prosecutor named Brian Concha spoke to the media on Danielle's behalf, maintaining his belief that she did not know that any of it was staged until the end. The prank was intended by the participants, but the last party, the victim, was not in on it. Conversely, attorneys representing the accused said the tape shows that Danielle, in fact, did know that it was a movie, citing the fact that she never begged the group not to kill her, appeared to smile after the gig was up, and had not once told them to stop. She pretends to play dead for about a minute, one said. If she truly thought she was going to be buried alive, she would have struggled.
Yeah, it's weird on both ends.
See, all we have here is a he said, she said situation. No one here ever knew the answer on if she were acting in this stunt. Not the prosecutors, not their lawyers, no one but Danielle Taylor. In the midst of an intense legal battle, Christina Lum had turned on her group of friends, accepting a plea bargain on a reduced charge of attempted felonious assault, and received a suspended 6-month sentence pending the completion of probation.
So they all got charges?
Vaxlinger was ordered to pay a $200 fine. Jimmy Carwile received a 4-month sentence, while Peja and Cockrell got 8 months. All suspended sentences following the completion of probation. All of them inevitably served their time and got out. However, in the end, another affliction entirely would befall them.
I think the fake throat slit was the sus part. There's a lot of it doesn't add up. Like, part of me thinks that she did know it was a prank, but it still ended up traumatizing her to the point that she wanted to take legal action. I don't know. Maybe they just took it too far. You know, they were too convincing with their acting, and she thought that they were being intentional with it. I don't know.
Travis Payo, the group's ringleader, passed away on Tuesday, April 18th, 2006. Derek Faxlinger passed away on Monday, February 12th, 2007. And Jonathan Cockrell lost his life on Wednesday, February 19th of 2014. All
They were
of
all
them
super
were
young.
less than 35 years old. Almost like a curse, 3 of the 4 men involved in the real Blair Witch incident had died before their lives could even get off the ground, and any information surrounding them, barren. All that seemed to exist was hearsay, notably on the website My Death Space, in which Travis Paya's cause of death was speculated to have been caused by drug use. Furthermore, mentions of Derek Faxlinger come up in reference to an MLive article, which states that he passed away from an epileptic seizure and had his organs donated to those in need. Even still, though, nothing definitive on whether this came from the fallout of the real Blair Witch ever came up. Onlookers then were just as conflicted, just as confused as all of us today. For a while, it seemed like this was the end to the real Blair Witch saga. A lost media legend turned criminal battle that resulted
Hate to say it, but a lot of people die young, sadly.
in
Yeah.
the loss of 3 lives.
Plus, like we talked about, that area, like they have awful water there, so it could possibly exacerbate certain things earlier in life, you know?
However, an entire year after the original Reddit post was made, a user named Beef Brothel emerged out of seemingly nowhere, shedding light on the deaths of their supposed friends. Derek, John, and Trav have all passed away. Derek had a seizure in the shower and sadly passed from that. His organs were donated and saved quite a few people. He was an extremely kind person and gave great hugs. Travis had a terrible tooth infection, and I'm not sure if that was the cause, but it was a contributing factor in his death. John was depressed, I can't deny that. His mother died and they were quite close, so his partying ramped up during the period after her passing. Another friend was with him that night. They were celebrating his new apartment, and it was simply an accidental overdose. He was one of my best friends, and I'm still angry at him for being so careless, especially because things were moving in such a positive direction for him. None of their deaths were because of the pressure of the case. Jim and I still talk occasionally, but he moved to another state and lives a private life. He's a good man, and I think he was affected the most by this situation. The girl apologized to them after the fact and insisted that she never wanted any of this to happen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's true. Like, you don't intentionally steal the tape and go to law enforcement if you didn't intend for it to happen. Like, but I think it's justifiable. Yeah, how can you just go on in life after doing that? I mean, she was known to... Oh, I'll just let him read.
She was known to our graduating class as a notorious exaggerator before any of this ever happened, so there's that. Plus, she was young and was being told by a lot of authority figures that she had to go along with this prosecution. She claimed after the fact that she believed taking the video from the house would prove that it was just a joke and everyone would just get off the hook. She didn't realize that John was pausing the recording between shots. Part of me thinks she initially enjoyed the initial attention, but it spiraled way out of control.
That's what it sounds like.
If I didn't know, these guys participated in these types of pranks on all of our friends weekly, made a dozen backyard horror films with them, spent all of my free time with them for years. I would think they were psychos too. That's just not the case. Jackass and Blair Witch were huge at this time, so it was kind of a mashup of the two genres to them. We all knew that if you went to Rancho, you could get pranked. It's just how things were. They did almost the exact thing to another friend a week or two before, and she was the one who suggested that they film it next time.
She could have literally at some point during the case said, I don't want to press charges. Yeah, that's all it would have taken. All it would have taken was for her to all at once say, you know what, drop the charges. I don't want to pursue this anymore. But no. But it's like that guy said, she was young and there was like a prosecutor involved at that point, and he was probably manipulating her, saying things like, well, you know, you don't want to make sure they get off the hook. They might do this to somebody else. So they were probably in her ear trying to make sure that she pursued it because he was already financially involved, you know. Could have been a lot of different factors. We don't know.
Unfortunate. This was a devastating time for our group of friends, their families, and their loved ones. Visiting them in jail was bonkers. I'll never forget how sad they all looked and how many people came to see them. Everyone knew that they did not do this maliciously, except the prosecutor, and he was a real asshole. Long story short, it was a prank, and everyone except the law knew that.
Say hello.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question for you. You just said hi. But if you had one thing to say, if this was your last day on Earth, what would it be?
Fuck you.
Why fuck
The real Blair Witch incident is a bizarre, unsettling chapter in the history of lost media. A story that serves as both a reflection of our deepest fears and a reminder of the human capacity for cruelty. How far would you go for a chance to escape a place in which you have no future? Was Danielle in on things, or was she truly terrified for her life that night? I've always said that lost media...
I feel for them if she was in on it and just lied, but also if she didn't lie, it's good they got consequences and off the street, because you're not in the right mind if you think this is a funny prank. That's definitely true. If you think that pretending to kidnap somebody, digging a hole in the middle of the forest, dropping them in there and pretending to slit their throat is a ha-ha funny prank, there's probably some... It stands to reason that you probably should get some consequences, because how far could you potentially escalate it from there? Like, how much further can you really go outside of just really cutting somebody or really assaulting somebody, you know? Like, there's nothing about that that's even remotely funny. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, like, I can see both sides, really.
Media, by nature, carries this enduring sense of mystery, and in my opinion, this one is no different. It is, and always will be, eerie, a look into the lives of intensely conflicted individuals. But if there's one thing to take away from all of this...
Oh, is it McCamey Manor? Is that what you're talking about, Wang? McCamey Manor? Yeah, I know way too much about that.
It's that we may likely never, ever get our hands on the full original tape in its entirety. The story of Danielle Taylor will forever live on through the lens of news reports and documentaries. And in its wake, an unsolvable question. Did she truly know? Perhaps we never will. A lost media mystery that may never find a resolution.
I take it back. That was a good video. I think it just, the first time I watched it, I made it like 5 minutes in and the editing kind of annoyed me, but that was ultimately a good video. Oh, what did they do to my stream, dude? Did they just make the whole thing say unavailable? Oh, they hit me with the strike like 2.5 hours in, so the rest of it's still available. I'll just leave it up. Fuck it. I'm not going to delete it or anything. It's probably going to tell me I got a copyright violation, but whatever. That shit happens all the time. Yeah, so again, I think both sides are right in this instance. Like, if she did know that it was a prank, it still raises a lot of eyebrows. I wasn't being I wasn't yapping enough. I wasn't pausing enough. If she did know that it was a prank, it still was something that was taken way too far. And especially if she didn't know it was a prank, then certainly that could have been traumatizing. So it was a very stupid thing to do, kind of regardless of what their explanations of why were. It was still a very irresponsible and very stupid thing to do to somebody that you would call a friend. So, but I mean, 8 months of jail time for that, I think, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Like, the timeline kind of doesn't make sense because she takes the tape. It said at the end that she thought taking the tape would prove that it was just a joke. So was she already in the legal battle at that point and wanted to submit the tape for proof? I don't know. It seems like she had somebody in her ear, was like, hey, this thing happened. What do you think about this? And the other person didn't know that the prank happened. And they said to her, like, oh my God, you need to go to the police right now. And so she didn't understand the severity of it, went to the police, and then all of a sudden all of her friends are, you know, getting arrested, and she was freaking out, and probably was like, hey, if I take this tape, I can prove that it was all just a joke and we can stop all this. But it didn't work because he wasn't recording the parts where they were talking about how to stage the stuff and how she was supposed to sit and how she was supposed to act. So the tape at the end too, kind of confusing with her slouching her neck over after the slice and then lifting. Yeah, and then when they take the blindfold off, she's like, I died, haha, you know, like I'm cold and my arms hurt, you know. So it's like it's clear that she did in fact know about it being a prank, but I think what happened was it still ended up fucking with her a little bit because it was just a little bit too convincing. So I think she still ended up with a little bit of kind of residual trauma from it because it was just too convincing and it was a little bit too harsh of a prank. So it was still a very irresponsible and very stupid thing to do. But I don't necessarily think that criminal charges were necessary. I just think that it should have been something that was very frowned upon. But to be honest, they kind of did need to learn a lesson, because if they didn't end up with that jail time, who knows what they could have escalated. You know, I'm a big believer that crime builds over time, and if you get away with something, you're going to be inclined to push the envelope even further next time. So, you know, if this prank on Danielle didn't get the impact that they wanted it to get, what's the next step for them to do outside of really hurting people? You know what I mean? So it's kind of conflicting. It's like I can see why they needed the jail time, but at the same time, I kind of think it was a little bit too harsh. Like maybe 90 days of jail time would have been solid, but I think 8 months was a bit much. You know, to essentially take an entire year from them to put them in jail, I think is a bit much, but I think a few months in jail would have got the point across just fine. It was definitely too far, and it was very fucking irresponsible. There's no doubt about that though. So I definitely think that, it was the right call for them to at least get some type of punishment. And just think about from her perspective too. It's like, you thought these people were your friends. That was an excellent video. Yeah. Like from her perspective, you think these people are your friends, and then they just select you to be the subject, like the guinea pig in this, you know, experiment that they're doing. It's probably gonna off with their heads. Yep. The death penalty. No, but, you know, it is, I don't know. There's a lot of different perspectives, and I'm sure people in the comments are probably like, oh, she's a liar and this, that, and the other. Let's see what some of the comments are saying. Actually, let's take a look here. It's just a prank, bro. The prank. Very true. Let's take a look here. It's funny how we're always told to try to be calm in situations like this, but as soon as someone does exactly that, people go, well, then why wasn't she kicking and screaming and trying to get away? Is she stupid? Yeah. Honestly, the way she laughs and smiles after the prank looks the same as any other girl who laughs out of discomfort. Not to pull out an essay, but it's a self-soother and a mediating response to stress and discomfort. I do it all the time, and that was not a haha, we got him laugh. It was Batman, yep. Having this year-long search for some lead to a long-lost documentary that no one can seemingly find, only for some dude to pull up and say, yo, I have the Ultra HD 4K Director's Copy First Edition just here on my shelf is wild. Very true. The if you went to the house, you're going to get pranked, it's just how things were, sounds awfully familiar, a justification. Honestly, all of her reactions seem pretty reasonable responses to trauma and shock. You'd be amazed at how many people really behave while they're in shock. Very calm, often giggly. It actually makes it feel more realistic. If she was in on it and just acting, she'd probably be screaming and freaking out the way people do in movies. Also, they keep saying that it was a prank and that she was in on it. Which one is it? It can't be both. Yeah, that's true. Like, It's either one or the other. Like, it's a very simple question. Yes or no, was she in on it? And that changes the whole dynamic of the case, whether or not that's true, you know? I hate prank culture. Being traumatized, made vulnerable, and recorded is not a prank. This can lead to lifelong paranoia. Their prank was insane. I don't think the victim was in on the prank. 2, just because she was laughing and didn't struggle does not mean anything. Maybe she resigned herself to her fate. 3, the random Redditor that vouches for all the perpetrators is simply a random Redditor lying and doesn't actually personally know the perpetrator. Yeah. That's true. Like, I feel like if this was older YouTube, they'd be like, oh, this lying bitch and da-da-da, you know? She acted strangely because you're supposed to act normal when you believe you're going to die. Freezing up and then laughing after something traumatic has just happened isn't as uncommon as you'd think it is. Edit, I understand that now. That wasn't him stating his opinion, but citing the defense. I'm a grown man, but if I was a young woman and my much stronger group of friends suddenly kidnapped and taunted me with my death, I'd definitely be freaked out afterwards, consent or not. She may have agreed to the stunt without actually knowing what they would do, the knife and the grave being the biggest shock factors. I think this is the closest to the truth that anybody has gotten. Yeah, 2002. I think this is the closest to the truth. I think she agreed to a prank, but to keep things realistic, they didn't tell her what the extent of the prank was. And probably midway through, as they were in the car, she actually started to panic and thought, like, what if they just brought up this story about the prank to get me to do this, and now I'm actually going to die? You know what I mean? Like, they were being a little bit too convincing. That's what it seems like is most likely here. I don't know about the other stuff, but laughing along once they let her free is not odd to me. If I were her, I would pretend to be on their side so they wouldn't hurt me further. I'd play along. Yeah, because trying to prank your friends by tying them up and dragging them into a dark forest, throwing lots of dirt on them while they claim they're going to stab you isn't crossing boundaries at all. Yeah. Yeah, I think ultimately it just was, you know, I think I agree with Nexpo in that I think they were just a little bit too inspired by the Blair Witch, and they said, how do we get like the closest to a real reaction? And the only way to do that is to not tell her the extent of it, you know? Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's exactly what I was just saying, Dr. Red. You framed that perfectly. They did the Stanley Kubrick and Alfred Hitchcock thing where they leave one of the actors out of the joke to make their reaction as authentic as possible, and then after they're already traumatized and freaked the fuck out, then say, but you were in on it the whole time. You knew it was a production. Yeah. So a Redditor friend who passive-aggressively blames Danielle literally gave it away that she didn't know because another person previously kidnapped said they should film it next time. So that girl nor Danielle were actually in on the prank. Thanks for clearing that up, yeah? Yeah, I think I think just looking at the evidence that the video and the documentary itself lays out, that's the truest possibility is she agreed to a prank. They didn't tell her the extent of the prank. The extent of the prank traumatized her, and that's what led her to go to the police. I think that's really what it comes down to, you know? It's really what it comes down to. And, you know, YouTube prank culture certainly didn't help. Like you were talking about the Sam Pepper prank situation. Kidnapped and killed prank was what it was called. Like, what the fuck were they thinking, dude? Killing best friend prank. Wow, look at Sam Pepper's channel now. Holy shit, he fell off. Look at these views, dude. 8 years ago, before the controversy happened, and then after the controversy happened, he's uploaded 3 videos that have all done like horribly. And you can see, like, he was already pushing the fucking boundaries of sensible shit. Like, buried alive for 24 hours challenge. Bathroom full of cockroaches for 24 hours challenge. And then around 8 years ago, the kidnapping and kill prank happened, and everybody like jumped on his ass. I'm not even gonna show the video because even now the video gets you like, you know, well, I mean, my stream's already shut down on YouTube, so I'd like for that to not happen on Twitch as well. All Mr. Beast challenges, yeah. And the people involved in that prank should have also been held accountable, yeah. Yeah, and I think that, you know, we live in a world where, I forget who said it. I think you guys know Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins. I believe he went on a podcast and said this, but it's so true. He said that attention is almost a more powerful currency than money nowadays. And we see a lot of young artists like rappers or just artists that blow up online and they want to get a contract. Nice boo. And the people in, oh yeah. Like, basically, that's why they will accept something called a 360 deal. And what a 360 deal is basically if you get a perfume deal or you get a cologne deal or you get a shoe deal or whatever type of fucking deal you get, the label gets a massive cut of all of it, you know, while you're under this contract. So they basically own you and you can't go independent. But that's okay because once the 2 or 3 year contract comes to an end, then you can just do your own thing and you have so much clout now that people are going to pay attention to what you do no matter what. So it's almost worth it to give up 3 years of promotions and brand deals and stuff to the label so that you know, still have that attention and all those eyes on you once you're out from underneath it. So that's what a 360 deal is. And, you know, in a lot of cases, we see these younger artists accepting them because they don't give a shit. But that's true. Like, attention is a very, very powerful currency nowadays that people have. And that's what prank culture, prank culture is like the lighter fluid on the flame, you know? Like, doing a shocking prank gets a ton of people talking about you. There's some people out there that just believe to the ends of the earth that any publicity is good publicity. And I don't care if, you know, I pretend to murder my friend for the sake of YouTube views. Cloud is a drug stronger than Fent. Very, very true. They're like, I don't care if people are wishing for me to be dead because I made the most outrageous, shocking prank video ever. The only thing I care about is that more people have my name in their mouth. You know? And Logan Paul was the same deal. When he went to Japan and did that Suicide Forest thing, you think he gave a shit that he recorded someone's corpse? No, the only thing he cared about was that people were talking about him until it started to affect his bottom line. Then all of a sudden, he uploads his So Sorry video, where he said the most, probably the dumbest, what's up, Guan Axel? Where he made probably the single stupidest, what was I gonna say? Where he made probably the single stupidest YouTube apology statement ever, where he said, like, I've made a long and continuous lapse in judgment. As if the lapse in judgment happened and then I just continued to make it for months and months and months. Like, what an idiot. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Like, clout is something that YouTubers are willing to completely ruin their presence online as long as the subscriber number goes up. They don't care what the dislike number says, you know what I mean? I'm the exact opposite. I have no social media presence. I barely leave my house. I'm the complete opposite of the younger me. Yeah. What's up, by the way, Guan Axel? By the way, that cheapo thing is not a jab at you or anything. That's just Stuart Ashen, the British YouTuber, saying that. Yeah, I think that, and you know, it's unfortunate because a lot of people, when they're younger, they're willing to do crazy shit for clout, and then they realize what they did, but it's too late. Like, Sam Pepper's a perfect example. Sam Pepper's like in his 30s now, right? And he didn't realize... Hey, what's up, Kendo? Disputing unrecognized transactions where they dark side fill chargebacks. Just kidding. got charged in the States and Canada. Like, what the fuck? Oh, somebody probably trying to steal your identity. But no, it's you know, Sam Pepper, what is his age? Let's find out. Sam Pepper age. Yeah, he's 36 now, so he's like pushing 40. And, you know, he did this shit 8 years ago. I mean, dude, that's no excuse. He was 29. I thought he was like 18 or 19 when he did that dumb shit, but he was 29. So there was literally no excuse. I mean, he just fucked up horribly. And, you know, unfortunately, as the saying goes, the internet is forever. And, like, there's no way that he's going to be able to, he's not going to be able to get out from underneath that, because that's his reputation now, you know? That's why people have got to stop being so fucking flippant with what they do on YouTube and stuff. Like, do you not realize that even if you upload a video and it goes poorly and you delete it, you think that matters? You think there's not already like 30 archived copies of whatever you uploaded that have been downloaded and shared amongst like hundreds of people? Like, that's how the internet works, man. Like, if you uploaded something and you fucked up badly, it doesn't matter if you delete it. It's out there forever, and people will hold it over your head. So that's why you have to be extra careful nowadays about the type of shit that you do. So these prank YouTubers that just really went way too far, like, they can't get their reputation back. You know, they lost their integrity way back when, and you cannot get it back. It doesn't matter what you do. As far as the internet's concerned, you're done. Dude, those pranks today would have them crucified. Oh, 100%, yeah. That's why it's called the web. Yeah, I mean, it's just you. If you're in the quote-unquote content creator space, you are a creator in any sense of the word. You have to fucking be careful with that shit, man. You can't just push something so far that it becomes borderline illegal and then say, oh, you know, it was just for views. It was just a prank, bro. Like, the whole "it was just a prank, bro" meme exists for a reason, you know? And we really got on a tangent, but that was a really fascinating video. So sometimes I do be getting on tangents. No, but it's just true. I think people need to stop being so willing to just ruin their reputation for a little bit of clout, because when you're older, you're gonna regret it. I think a lot of people do. These rug pull crypto things are a perfect example as well. Like, for real. Rug pull crypto scams are another perfect example. I mean, they have people now where they are willing to permanently ruin their reputation, even though their reputation revolves around them being a content creator, strictly because gonna wait for the stamp coins. That should be illegal. What should be? They're willing to completely destroy their reputation online, even when their career and their income revolves around it, just because a number goes up on a screen. And the crypto rug pull's a perfect. Oh, crypto rug. I was literally just talking about it. I don't know my brain. Anyways, yes. So what they do is they essentially create a coin. Everybody invests in it, and then they just take all the money and run. Okay. And they're willing to do that because, oh, I just made $1 million. But it's like, you just ruined your entire fucking reputation, and that's permanent. You can never outrun that. Like, you'll just always be labeled as a crypto scammer forever. You're really willing to trade that? You're really willing to be known as a crypto scammer for fucking all time? Just because you wanted the money now? I'm not willing to take that trade, man. Fuck that. I would not be willing to take that trade. That's what happened to the Hawk Tua girl or whatever, you know? Like, she finally woke up. Because if you guys remember, very famously, she was like, oh, I'm going to, She's like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed, y'all, you know, and just disappeared. She finally started uploading again. Her videos are still getting massively dislike bombed, and they can barely, you know, cross like 15,000 views now when they used to get hundreds of thousands of views. Her podcast was literally like a top 3 most listened to podcast on Spotify, and I wish I was making that up. The kid hit a trick in rugs in one day. Oh yeah, I remember that. Hey, no problem, Monster. Appreciate you hanging out, and always appreciate the insightful conversation for sure. Always a blast. But yeah, she has ruined her reputation permanently, and she'll just always be known as a crypto scammer, even though it's 100% clear that she had no idea what she was doing and got goaded into doing it because she had clout. That's no excuse. She still should have known to simply say no. There were so many opportunities for her to simply say, no, I do not want to participate in this meme coin thing. I do not want to sign this contract where you pay me money and this, that, and the other. Like, no. She did an episode with KSI, of all people. And everybody in the comments is just like, oh, look, it's the rug pullers. You know, like, your reputation's ruined, man. And you can't get that back. So don't trade it for a little bit of money, a little bit of clout. It's not worth it. It should be illegal, and I'm sure it probably will be soon, but like, it's just such early days with crypto that not a lot of people know. It's such early days with crypto that not a lot of people know what to do with it, you know? Yeah, a podcast full of people who fell off, pretty much, dude. Early shit's been around 15 years. Well, I know, but like the concept of rug pulling and meme coins has been around for a lot less. Like, cryptocurrency as a concept has been around for almost 2 decades, but the way that it's been used to manipulate fan bases and like snipers, and there's a lot of different factors. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but what I do know is basically what they do is they pool all of the coins together. They have a certain amount of value based on public interest and this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of private wallets that will end up getting most of that money. And most of the wallets who end up with the money are directly tied to the founders. So that's why they call it rug pulling. They get people to invest all their money to get these coins, and then they essentially run off with the money and then tank the value in like a very, very short period of time, and then they disappear. And then they can blame it on a bunch of other things and say, well, it's not our fault, it was the snipers. You know, that's what they tried to do with the Hawk Tuah coin, but that doesn't work. It doesn't fly. You know, it's just not acceptable. So yeah. Hey, what's up, Dude Core? Yeah, the YouTube stream got taken down for a copyright violation today. By the way, why did... maybe I'm just blanking, but Wang, why did you say nice boobs earlier? And then the person donated 1 bit and said tits. Can someone explain to me what those were about? Was something on screen that I didn't realize was on screen or what? I'm so confused right now, dude. This random guy named Guan Axel showed up, donated 1 bit, and said tits. Music related? I have no idea. Kind of nice that play to earn games are now almost non-existent as well. You can check the strike. Yeah, it's because I was watching a Nexpo video. He's a big, like, horror YouTuber. I think that's why I got it. Because, like Wang said, my content wasn't being transformative enough. But, you know, 2 hours and 22 minutes of it is still available on YouTube, so whatever. If people really badly want to watch the rest, they can watch it here, you know what I mean? But anyways, so I'm going to be working a lot on me and Future's YouTube video in the next couple days. I'm going to be recording a ton of narration. You said that cloud is more valuable than money, and I think Wang said boobs because a lot of streamers barely wearing anything for views. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, basically just streaming with their tits hanging out because it gets them views. Okay, that makes sense. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to be working really hard on that video for the next couple days, and I'm also going to get Adobe Premiere open and just start making more YouTube videos. I don't ever want my YouTube to go like a month without an upload ever again. I should never be the case. I should, because, you know, I can make easy videos. I can make like 3 videos a week if I really was driven. You know, just talking about different news, Silent Hill stuff or whatever. I could easily make 3 or 4 videos a week if I was driven enough, so there's no excuse. I've just been very, very busy with work stuff. As I explained at the beginning of the stream, I've had a lot of work-related shit going on, but it's over now, so I've got plenty of time to work on YouTube for the next little bit, so. Not that it's a shock to any of you, but it may be a few days before you see me again. But, like I said, I have a good reason for it, and I will be sharing progress updates on the video. Me and Future are grinding it out right now, so. Also, be prepared for us to watch the real Silent Hill experience. That's going to be really fun. Watching that whole thing is going to be fucking awesome. But, gamers, I do apologize, but we're going to have to go ahead and get up out of here because I got to be at work super early in the morning. So there's my channels. I will go ahead and take the stream channel down eventually, but with that being said, let's break the chains on room 302 and free everybody in 3, 2, 1.